You ever seen a woman on a beach with a machine gun?
No.
Very, very early morning sports radio for postmen, trolley dollies,
Out of a dirt chip, Prestwick.
and anyone who had to do a dawn runner after a very ill-advised one-night stand.
Go, go, go.
Over my dead body.
The two mics on Talk Sport.
Look at the light! We've got plenty of time.
No, we haven't. Look at
yes,
the time.
you have. I can make time.
No,
You know,
how
I
do you
can
make time?
invent time.
Can you?
We aspire. I see. How about that? Nobody's ever seen a white rhino, so it doesn't matter.
Well, people have seen them.
No, nobody's ever seen, like, a dinosaur, but we still, revere dinosaurs, so we'd still revere the white rhino, even if there weren't any white rhinos, so it doesn't really matter if the white rhino dies.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course it's time to say a very warm welcome to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, very good morning, Mike, and I have to say I am absolutely thrilled that Martin Glenn, the new chief executive of the FA,
Yes.
is talking the language of the common man.
Do you think so?
Is talking the language of the man with a head on his shoulders, is talking the language of a man who is being absolutely pragmatic about the future of the international team in this country.
Could the
England.
FA have finally appointed somebody with, a sort of a modicum of common sense? Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
Because they haven't exactly exhibited a lot like that in the past.
Not really. Ever since the days when I was there and Graham Kelly was there and successive chief executives after that, David Davis was acting
There are
chief
many people
executive
who
for a
and
while.
I'm sure they will ask again at some point later on in the show, who'd like to hear your Graham Kelly impression. You don't have to do it now, but I mean, you can do it any time.
Well, I think you only do that when it's appropriate. You
Yes.
don't do it because you're trying to take the mickey out of Graham Kelly. You do it when you're telling a story which is pivotal to the development of English football during the late 90s and the early parts of this century, and I go into character, but
Yes.
I don't do it in any way to sort of deride
No,
Mr.
of course
Kelly.
not.
He was a great chief executive and tied down by the system that existed in the FA in those days, which was the committee system.
Yes.
96 members of the FA Council who generally speak and always voted against Mr. Kelly and in their own interests.
Right.
Like, for instance, they'd be more interested in voting on what's on the menu for the cup final rather than the way the cup final was conducted.
And he also had to fight against that, tide of leaks as well, didn't he?
Well, I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about the leaks?
Sorry?
What, you mean the inquiry, you never found who was responsible?
Well, I'm not.
During the inquiry.
I'm not getting into that.
No, of course not.
My job was when I was at the Football Association. I went there, and it was a closed shop and a closed door.
Yes.
I perestroika'd the place.
Did you?
Yes.
Right.
I believed in glasnost and perestroika.
Right.
Because that was the common theme at the time in Eastern Europe, and I decided to bring that to the FA.
Right.
Openness.
Yeah.
We had to have a more open approach to the world.
Right.
So,
But they didn't fancy it, so the leaking had to happen, really, is what you're saying.
well, there was no leaking. These were unofficial briefings.
Yes. Off the record.
Yes, off the record glossaries with chosen members of the media.
Right. And they seem to have learnt from that, don't they? Because it looks now as though this guy, Martin Glenn, is actually talking for himself, which Graham Kelly never did.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'm glad you brought it back to what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I mean, just explain to the audience, Mr. Glenn is basically saying that Roy Hodgson's got to prove himself before we have any thought whatsoever of extending his employment with the Football Association.
Into the World Cup, which is what he's already said he'd like to do.
It's as brutal as that.
Yeah.
It's as brutal as that.
Well, is it, though? Because he doesn't say, right? He says here, and it's on a lot of the back pages this morning, Roy Hodgson's position as England manager will become untenable if his side underperform at Euro 2016. Now, that all sounds fine, but he doesn't actually spell out what what underperforming means. What level of the tournament he's expected to get.
I know. If we go there and we don't get out of the group stages, right, that's untenable.
Okay.
If we get there and we get through the group stages and go out in the round of 16, that is untenable for me.
Okay.
Yeah, completely
But is it
untenable.
untenable for him, though? That's what we don't know.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, what I'm saying is, unless he'd issue a statement saying Roy'd better get to the semi-finals or else he's out, which he could, which is basically what I think he's thinking, he can't be that brutal. He can't be that brutal because that means then that Roy Hodgson goes to the championships hanging by a petard, not his own, but a petard. You know what I mean?
Even.
Sorry?
A thread, even.
A thread.
Hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
Because you get hoisted by a petard, don't you? You don't really hang by it.
Well, yes, but if you're hoisted by a petard, you eventually hang by it, don't you?
Well, I don't know. Depends if you're a grouse or not, I suppose. We better go back into that conversation.
No. You've lost the meaning of the English language again. Hoisted by your own petard means, woof, lifted up there by the fact that you're pulling on one side and it's taking your neck up on the other.
Yeah.
You understand that?
I suppose so.
Yes, thank you. Right. Well,
it's just not a phrase I've ever heard.
What, hoisted by your own petard?
No, I've heard hoisted by your own petard. We're not hanging by a petard.
Well, when you're hoisted by a petard, your feet are off the ground, and the reason you die is because you get suffocated because there's no breath in your throat.
Right.
That's because the petard is round your neck. So doesn't it make common sense that if you're hoisted by your own petard, you will eventually be hanging by your own petard?
Well, I thought the whole idea of a petard was that it was more of a device which blew up, and if you were blown up by your own petard, that was hoisted by your own petard.
Petards don't blow you up, Mike.
Why not?
They're not explosive.
Well, they can be.
No, they're not. No, they're not. I don't know what you're talking about here.
Okay.
Do you know what a petard is?
Yeah, I do know what a petard is.
Yeah?
Never mind all that.
Why are you talking rubbish?
I'm not talking rubbish. I'm
Right.
just trying to say
Getting
to you,
back
hanging
to
by a
Mr.
thread.
Glenn.
Hanging by a thread. But, for example, if...
No, you can't hang by a thread.
What do you mean you can't hang by a thread?
A thread breaks.
Yeah.
Right? Hanging by a thread.
Hanging by a thread is a well-known phrase which people use all the time in a
Hanging by
variety
a
of
thread
situations.
means you've got, less than a second.
Like, for example, when your career was hanging by a thread...
My career has never hung by a thread.
You know, they would say your career is hanging by a thread.
My career has never hung by a thread.
I'm not talking about your career specifically, but other people's careers hang by a thread, don't they?
Yes, but that means that they're on the way out. That means they're going to go.
Yeah, right.
Right? Hung by your own petard means finito.
Right.
All over-o.
Okay, all over-o.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Say, for example, it is a semi-final place that he's expecting England to achieve, right? What if they get to the quarterfinals and they go out on penalties? Is that okay?
Pretty good. Depends
so
who we're playing.
Underperforming?
Depends who we're playing.
Right.
If we were playing Germany in that quarter-final and we got to 90 minutes and it was 2-2, and then we got to 120 minutes and it was 3-3, and then we went out on penalties, the sense of achievement within the country would save Roy Hodgson. But I want to sort of, endorse something I had in the previous show.
Yeah.
In addition to all of that, it's the age factor. He's just too old to be the England manager. He sounds like an old man. He talks like an old man. He talks a bit like
But I didn't think you'd be the sort of person who would be ageist.
Yeah, I'm not ageist.
Because I'll tell you what we didn't talk about yesterday.
And I don't particularly like an England manager who goes around reading books written by Latin scholars in the 16th and 17th century.
Why not?
I don't think it's relevant to being the England coach.
Well, Gareth Southgate, who's the only young man within the England setup, has just had most of his responsibilities removed from him. And basically yesterday, we didn't get around to talking about this. People have been told that all of the people that he was in charge of, he's now not in charge of anymore, apart from the under-21 team, which is the one job that he apparently can't do.
So what you're basically saying is that, the FA, before Mr. Glenn got there, because Mr. Glenn didn't make any of these appointments, the FA basically has a young tracksuit coach who just happens to be useless, and we have an elder gentleman coach who just happens to be useless. That's what you're saying,
pretty
basically,
much,
isn't it?
pretty much.
Okay.
And I don't
Why don't you spell it out like that?
Well, because you've put it in a more brutal way. You use the word brutal. I wouldn't have used those words. I wouldn't have described Gareth Southgate as useless. As you know, I'd rather see Gareth Southgate in charge of the senior team than Roy Hodgson, actually. But what worries me is about this guy Glenn, who wants to say something but doesn't actually go the whole hog.
Oh no, I think he does. I think he goes as far as he can.
He is not specifying what he would regard as a success.
Right. Do you know, in this day and age, believe it or not, if Mr. Glenn went any further than the insinuations which he's made in that piece, he could suddenly find himself in employment court.
Well, I don't see why.
Yes, he could.
Why can't he say, I expect England to reach the semi-finals? Anything less than that is not good enough.
He could suddenly find himself in the employment court being accused of constructive dismissal.
Well,
believe me.
I don't...
That's the way the world goes. It is.
I've got a tweet from Frazzle, who says a petard was a small bomb, French Napoleonic military.
Yes.
You said it wasn't a bomb.
No, it's not a bomb.
Well, he just said it was.
No, it's not. No.
A petard is a small bomb.
No.
Do I have to look it up?
No. What I'm saying to you...
You're going to be hoisting your own petard.
No. What I'm saying to you is this.
Yes.
That might have been the original definition of the word petard.
Right.
But over the last 3 centuries, it has moved on, believe me, massively.
Okay.
Massively moved on.
Yeah.
And I can tell you now...
Well, hoist with your own petard, definition. Yes. Injured by the device that you intended to use to injure others.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So it's a device that blows up.
No, it isn't necessarily a device that blows up, believe me. Believe me, it's not. It's not. But you wouldn't understand all that, Mike. It would take me half an hour to explain all that.
Yeah, we haven't got that much time.
What?
Here's another definition. A petard was a small bomb used for blowing up gates and walls when breaching fortifications. It is of French origin and dates back to the 16th century. A typical petard was a conical or rectangular metal object containing 5 or 6 pounds of gunpowder with a slow match for a fuse.
Yes, I know all that. And that was in the 16th century.
Well, how can you hang from it then?
Can I just tell you? Can I just explain to you? Right, there are words in the English language today, which
it's
have
a French word,
which derived from other languages. Like, for instance, et tu brute. Right,
et tu brute.
Yes.
It's in Latin.
That's right. That's Latin. Right. Yeah. Et tu brute.
What does that mean?
Well, that meant literally, a couple of centuries ago. when it was all going on.
A couple of centuries.
In Rome, yeah.
Longer ago than that, maybe.
A couple of centuries and 15 years ago then, OK? Right, OK. That meant in those days, and you, Brutus. That's what it meant literally, OK?
Yeah,
but
and you
these
as well.
these days, it means, you've let me down as well as everybody else.
Well, it's the same.
No, it's not. It's not the same.
And you as well.
It's not the same. Because
unless the guy's called Brutus.
No, you idiot. We're not talking about being stabbed in the back anymore. No. We're talking about the new interpretation of A tu Brute, which means, I see.
Being stabbed in the back.
I see. No, you could be in a pub and you could say, so you won't buy me another drink because you say I'm too intoxicated, right? Well, don't worry, because Mike will, won't you, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, you won't? Oh, A2 Brute.
Would you mind holding this small petard for me while I go to the toilet?
A2. You see, it's almost impossible to talk to you because being born with two Scottish parents, you've got a very strange interpretation of the English language.
Scots have got a great connection with the French, actually, funnily enough. Anyway, we haven't got time for any of this because we're still talking about the England manager's job, which apparently the FA think Hodgson shouldn't have, but they can't seem to decide why. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Now, you'll be fascinated by this, Mr. Parry.
Yeah.
Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk to a naval historian.
Excellent.
A man by the name of Dr. Phil Weir about the HMS Hood. Amazing story that they've discovered this bell from the ship.
It's brilliant.
From back in the 40s. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Also, we're going to talk about golf with Steve Eubanks, who's a former US Tour pro.
Sorry, when you say back in the 40s, you were talking about the biggest battleship the Royal Navy ever had.
Yeah.
Do you realise the Hood was sunk from 25 miles away?
Was it?
By the captain of the...
what?
Of the, Germany's most famous boat. What was it called? Bismarck. It was sunk by the Bismarck from 25 miles away.
In the Atlantic. North Atlantic.
In the very North Atlantic.
Yeah.
It was off, kind of Scarpa Flow, around there. And the minute that Hitler heard that the Hood had been sunk, he awarded the captain of the Bismarck the Iron Cross with 3 bars.
Only 3 of the boat's 1,418 strong crew survived.
Unbelievable.
Incredible that 3 of them survived, really.
It was the greatest ever tragedy in the history of the Royal Navy. It's an amazing story.
All right.
Now, look,
we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah, we are. Now, we've got to get back to this FA thing, right?
Yes.
Because we can't let this go.
I've got some tweets to read out to you here.
Right, OK.
John says this at the two Mics. Is Hodgson going to be judged against his failure at the World Cup? If so, he can't fail.
No,
get shot of
that's
him now.
True. That's absolutely true.
Which is a very good point.
Yeah.
Let's see, where else is... one from Adam, who says, in my opinion, if we don't reach the quarter-finals, England will have failed. I think we should look for a new manager anyway.
No, I totally agree with that. Now we've got tomorrow morning's papers in front of us, right? And I'm Roy Hodgson. I'm looking at here. And the Daily Express says, flop in France and you're out, OK?
Right.
It says that, quite starkly. FA tell Hodgson he'll lose his job.
Without saying what a flop is, I don't think it means anything.
Well, hang on. FA tell Hodgson he'll lose his job if he fails. The Sun, no mercy. I like that. Mercy, M-E-R-C-I, is the French word for merci, thank you. Yeah. So, no thank you. Admits France 2016.
Shouldn't it be non merci?
Non merci.
Because they messed that up, haven't they?
Non merci. Admits France 2016 club will cost
I would have told them to go back and change that to non merci.
Well, then maybe they'll change it in the next edition if they're listening. Roy Hodgson now accepts he will not deserve to keep the England job if we flop at Euro 2016 in France. So they're saying...
But still, again, no definition of the word flop.
I know, but what they're saying is they've taken the story on to say, Roy Hodgson's been made aware of the wishes of Mr. Glenn, the new chief executive, and accepts that unless he gets, very far down the road in the tournament, he'll have to go. But what I'm saying is, if you have any dignity in your job, I'm looking at the Times here. Now, the Times is not a paper that goes in for spectacular headlines, but look what they say. French farce will put paid to Hodgson. Now, if I'm Roy Hodgson and I'm reading all these papers, right, and these are on my breakfast table tomorrow morning, do you know what I'd do? I'd ring up Mr. Glenn and say, thanks, Mr. Glenn, for nothing, I'm quitting. Yeah. I'd have to.
Well, to be honest, if you were Roy Hodgson and you had any ounce of dignity about you, you might have quit after the World Cup in Brazil. Yeah. Because you would have said, look, I'm terribly sorry, this is way below any kind of effort that I expected the England players to make.
I agree with that.
This is way below any achievement that I expected to make, to leave the tournament before some teams had even finished playing 3 games and to be out without winning a game is shameful, and I'm leaving.
But
that's what you should have done.
Yeah, what I'm saying is he is literally being given a public ultimatum, and by definition of being given the public ultimatum, he's being told he's useless.
Yeah.
Because that tweet you've just read out says it all. What's he to be judged against? His performance in the World Cup in Brazil, which was so hopeless.
Where he didn't win a game.
Yeah, exactly. And we were out the tournament before Germany played their second game.
I'll tell you what I didn't know. Was this guy, Glenn, used to be the chairman of United Biscuits.
Yes, he did, yeah. Yeah.
So what does he know about football?
Well, he knows a lot about custard creams, right?
Yeah.
And
that's not necessarily helpful.
To me, any man who's got his act together and produced a packet of custard creams is clearly... No, I'm only joking. I mean, it's ridiculous to say, but I mean, he's clearly a good businessman, and I do like the cut of his jib, and I do like the way that he's being very, very clear.
See, if you're in the biscuit business,
very clear.
If you're in the biscuit business, you could be very clear about your kind of targets and your performance targets and all of that. You can say to the people that make the custard creams, I expect you to make 1,000 custard creams an hour,
yes.
But if you don't, you're out.
Yeah.
But you can't say that in a football way, can
you say to the people in the factory, we want to make 1,000 custard creams an hour, right? Yeah. You then say to the people in the sales department, I want to shift 100 packets of custard creams an hour.
Yeah.
You then say to the delivery people, I want 100 boxes of custard creams delivered to Tesco's every hour.
Yeah.
You then say to the guys at Tesco's who buy them, I expect you to sell 100 packets of custard creams every hour. Right. And so it goes on. You're absolutely right. There are clear and defined targets producing custard creams which have clearly put Mr. Glenn in a position to be able to issue ultimatums on performance.
Yes, but he's he's not able to do it when it comes to football, because all he's able to do is talk about how he's had this conversation with Roy Hodgson that we are on the same page, he claims in this piece in the Times, and that there was no need to actually clear the air. However, unless he's given Roy Hodgson specifically a target that we don't know about, Roy Hodgson doesn't know what success and failure is, does he?
Well, he must do.
Well, he should do, but I mean, what I'm saying is it quarter-final? Is it semi-final? Is it final? You just don't really know, do you? That's the problem.
You would hope that Mr. Hodgson, who prides himself on being recognised as a well-educated man, is at least able to work out where the parameters of success and failure cross over.
Yes.
You'd have to say. Now, listen, we've got to talk about the Doctor again.
The Doctor?
Yes.
Yes, go on then.
Well,
I can't believe it's still running, this story.
I can.
I really can't believe it. I must say, I thought Craig Burley was quite eloquent in what he said on the Sports Bar earlier. But, I mean, I have to say, that it tends to be now, it's becoming like an anti-Jose Mourinho crusade.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it's all about, criticising Jose Mourinho.
It's terrible.
And seeing things, perhaps, which may or may not be there.
Now, at risk of being called sexist by you again, which of course I will accept.
I will not call you sexist tonight, no, as long as you're not sexist.
Right, good. Now, the Mirror is perhaps the most brutally anti-Jose headline. It says, Jose, you're appalling. Sports doctors blast Mourinho for his treatment of banned club medics and calls for public apology.
Who this is a quote from? This is a quote from a guy called Peter Bruckner, who's the former head of sports medicine at Liverpool.
I know, yeah.
So, I mean, he would say that, wouldn't he?
Well,
I mean, you won't get to ring up the guy who used to be at Liverpool and he's going to be praiseworthy of Jose Mourinho. I don't think so.
Well, also, which huge successes was Mr. Bruckner in charge of at Liverpool in recent years?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
We need to know that.
But this is what I mean. Everyone's piling on Jose Mourinho and making out like he's the worst guy that ever lived.
Do you know, it has become a woman-man thing, very much so.
It has.
Because I've been looking at tweets. Well,
there's been things written in the Telegraph and Women's Page about it.
Absolutely.
And how football has got this rampant sexism running through it, and all of this, and all because of the one quote that he gave, which said, if you're sitting on the bench, whether you're a secretary, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a physio, you need to understand the rules of the game.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that the person concerned, who I refuse to acknowledge as a doctor of medicine, but
I think that's now been proven, actually, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
No, she's not a doctor.
I don't want to have the same argument.
No, I'm not going to have the same argument with you.
She is definitely a doctor.
No, she has a title doctor, but she is not a doctor of medicine in the terms of...
Well, she actually is.
No, she's not. When you go to see your GP, in your local surgery...
She practised in Scotland in medicine, outside of sport.
No, MSc in medical science is not the same. But anyway, we went all through that last night.
Yeah, we did.
What I'm saying is this, right?
Go on.
And, people are going to attack me for this now. This has now become such a distraction at Chelsea that Mr. Mourinho, who is the club owner, now has to step in and he has to do one of two things. He either has to sack Jose Mourinho or he has to sack Eva, who is the sort of deposed head of medical affairs at Chelsea, because Eva Carneiro is whipping up so much public support. it is becoming a massive distraction and something that's getting in the way of the good running of Chelsea Football Club.
But surely, the world cannot have gone quite as mad as to say Abramovich is going to be presented with the policy of either one of those two going. Well, he's surely not going to sack Jose Mourinho over this, is he?
Well, one wouldn't have thought so. So what's the only conclusion you can draw?
Well, my only conclusion that I can draw is that she will probably move on. Well, that's what I think will happen.
Her working relationship with Jose Mourinho is finished.
Yeah,
it can't possibly work.
Yeah, it is.
So, but I mean, the point is, in this day and age, already looking on some of these back pages, it's going on about, she's going to be gearing up now for, constructive dismissal, looking for compensation. I mean, by the way, she's not saying that, so don't put words into her mouth. We haven't heard from Eva since the sort of explosion of her being demoted sort of blew up.
Right.
But people are speculating already in the papers this morning. She's got a huge case now against Chelsea and everything else, and this is only because Jose Mourinho thought he was doing his job efficiently.
Yeah.
But you're right, it has become a man-woman thing.
It's become a ridiculous story blown out of all proportion.
Some reaction from some female commentators today who say Jose has created a pantomime, and Eva is at the centre of it all and made her look stupid and foolish.
There is also those theories abroad which say, and I don't mean by that overseas, I mean abroad, just out there, where people are saying, well, Jose Mourinho is trying to distract everybody's attention from Chelsea's miserable start to the season. Yeah. Other people are even going as far as to say that he realises that he can't defend the title, and he's trying to organise his own way out of Chelsea. Yeah. I don't believe that for a second.
No, I don't believe that for a second either.
But it's fascinating stuff, and we'll talk some more about it. We'll take calls on it as well, actually, because surely there must be other people out there who agree with me and possibly Mr. Parry that this story has been blown out of all proportion.
No, it hasn't.
It's complete madness.
No, Mike, I don't think it has. I think it's a terrific story because of the energy contained within the story. Yeah. What's happened is that Jose has decided quite independently to speak out on this issue. And, for instance, some papers are saying owner Mr. Abramovich is furious that Mourinho caused the controversy by criticising a senior employee. Yeah. Well, does that mean the relationship now between Mr. Abramovich and Jose has gone south?
It's an extraordinary state of affairs. I think it's nonsense, and Mr. Parry does not. Let's hear from you. 08717 2233 444. Cost call 13 pence a minute, plus your usual carrying charges. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk golf. The US PGA gets underway in a few hours' time.
Talk Sport on DAB, digital radio, and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Sport, we are the two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We've got an awful lot of tweets and texts to read out. I should probably read out a couple of them here just before we talk to Steve Eubanks about the US PGA, Mr. Parry. Here's one from Brian in Islington. He says, Dear Mr. Graham, am I the only person who thinks Roy Hodgson speaks just like the 1960s comedian Tony Hancock? Somebody should write a sitcom about the England team and call it Hodgson's Half Hour. It's not bad, that.
Well, yeah, that's very good. We like a bit of lively debate on this show.
And Ben says this, MG, you're spot on. Petard is an old English word for an explosive device, hence the quote from Hamlet regarding the engineer hoisted by his own petard. Yes. Nothing to do with rope.
No, but it became... what I'm trying to say is language develops over the centuries and it became attached to, hoisted by your own petard, became, you're pulling on one side and it's having a counter effect on the other. Okay. That's all I'm trying to say.
If you say so.
Yes,
David says this, when the time arrives for Roy Hodgson to go, the FA has to appoint an Englishman as manager. If Glenn Hoddle wants the job, they have no need to look elsewhere. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But coming up now, we're going to talk about the US PGA. Rory McIlroy, about 6 weeks ago, tore the ankle ligaments in his left ankle, a very, very key part of any golfer's makeup, and he's now returning to the fray for the first time since that injury to try and defend his title at the US PGA in Whistling Straits. Steve Eubanks, former US Tour pro himself, is here to tell us what chance he's got of winning it. Steve, a very good morning to you.
Well, it's good morning to you guys. It's always great to be with you.
Yeah, thanks indeed for joining us. Now, we were quite surprised, both of us sitting here, the two Mics, that Rory McIlroy was back to what he regards as 100% fitness after such a serious injury. What do you make of it?
I was too, but I had talked to several doctors who said that you would be remarkably surprised at how fast you can recover from this type of injury. Now, it looks terrible when it happens, and you do have to be off of it. But the recovery rate, particularly with therapy, is quite quick. So I think that 6 weeks is just about the right time. So, look, I don't think that physically Rory's going to have a problem. I think the problem is going to be he hasn't played competitive round it since the last June.
Right.
And, we're talking about having that kind of a layoff and that sort of rust, it takes more than 1 or 2 rounds to knock that sort of stuff off.
Steve, do you think that Tiger Woods was right to get involved in the discussion about the potential injury and start issuing warnings to Rory?
I actually like the fact that Tiger is now speaking about things other than Tiger's game. Mm-hmm. Because, look, I mean, he is now kind of the elder statesman of the game. I mean, think back 10 years ago. Did we ask Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus about their games? No. We asked them about everything else. We asked them about, what did you think of Tiger Woods? What do you think of this golf course? What do you think of golf courses in general? What do you think of equipment? They were the elder statesmen, and they were able to provide kind of an overview of what was going on in the game. And Tiger has now really kind of assumed that mantle. I mean, he's almost 40 years old. Granted, that's not ancient, but I can't think of a single soul when Tiger was winning at 20 who thought he wouldn't be retired at 40. He just went at it too hard, and so everybody thought he was going to be, pretty much done by now. And it's just wonderful to have him speaking out on things like this, where you feel like you're getting an honest answer from him, as opposed to talking about his game, where you just have no idea what's going to come out of his mouth.
Well, that's true, and he has changed his tack, hasn't he, recently, Tiger Woods, because there was a time, as recently as just before the Open here at St Andrews, where he said, I haven't come here to make up the numbers, I've come here because I believe I can win it. It sounds as though he's now probably more than happy to talk about other people's injuries and other people's longevity rather than his own actual game.
Yeah, I think so, and I think he's really sick of answering those kinds of questions. Well, but look, the last time he played at St. Andrews and he hit one in the burn-off of one, I mean, a ridiculously poor shot.
Yeah.
He comes in and he starts talking about the spin rate. My numbers weren't right on the spin rate. Spin rate? Really? That's what you're going to talk about?
You just hit an awful shot.
You just hit a terrible golf shot. And look, and that's happening way too often. Shots that we did not expect Tiger Woods to hit. And I think that we're at a stage now where we should appreciate what we saw with Tiger and appreciate him as an elder statesman in the game, and realize that, he might win another tournament or two. But, I mean, there are a lot of guys who might win another tournament or two, but he's not the player that he once was, and he never will be again.
Steve, to quote that great film, Top Gun, and the commander...
Top Gun?
Yeah, that commander...
What's that got to do with golf?
I'm about to tell you. That commander on the aircraft carrier said, your mind's writing checks that your body can't cash. Is Rory McIlroy only going back into battle because he does not want another magnificent young talent, Jordan Spieth, to take his mantle as number one player in the world?
I'm sure there's an element of that involved here. Obviously, you don't reach number one in the world without having a certain level of ego involved here, and you don't want to see someone else take that spot away from him. Now, Rory is an exceptional human being. And if Jordan comes out and wins this week and assumes the mantle of number one, you will hear nothing but praise out of the mouth of Rory McIlroy. He's that kind of guy.
Although, interestingly enough...
That's one of the reasons I'm so happy about the game right now, because we have some people who are not only remarkable players, but are just remarkable human beings.
Sure.
And that's always helpful. One of the interesting things for me, though, is Jordan Spieth has missed the cut at the last two US PGAs, so he's got something to prove here as well, hasn't he?
He really does, and no player in history has won the 3 majors played on American soil in the same year.
Right.
And so there's an opportunity for him to do something that has never been done, in addition to assuming the number one spot in the world. So he's got a lot on the line.
He has got a lot on the line, but he's got 2 majors behind him in this current playing year. He must be the most relaxed golfer in the world going into this one, because whatever happens at the outcome of this, the 4th major this year, he's still had a brilliant season, hasn't he?
Absolutely. He's player of the year no matter what happens. But, look, I mean, the reason that Jordan Spieth will always be in contention is he's the greatest putter in the world. And it's that simple. I mean, he is this generation's steady. He sees things that no one else sees, and when the putter gets hot, he makes everything. And so, that kind of a player is always going to be in contention.
Now, the one thing about this course which puzzles me very much at Whistling Straits is that there's 1,000 bunkers on the course.
Amazing.
Now, that means, for my rudimentary mathematics, you're talking about sort of some holes with maybe as many as 50 bunkers on them. I mean, how is that possible?
Some have as many as 100.
That's incredible. 100 bunkers on one hole.
Yeah, and the problem, many of them are so far out of play that no one could ever hit it in there. They're there as aesthetics. They're there. A lot of them are there really to hold the ground into place.
Okay.
So a lot of it is there from an architectural standpoint. A lot of it's there for scenery. And a lot of it is there because Pete Dye stood there and say, "Wow, wouldn't it be great to put 100 bunkers on this hole?" So
it seems a bit overzealous, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
really
I saw the fairway on one of the holes, only in an aerial picture, Steve, and it looked like a beach. It looked like sort of downtown Miami.
Yeah,
it's
really
not where the beach is.
No, it's not. Actually, it's on the coast. Yeah. But, you know what I mean?
Where it's really,
sorry, I meant to say downtown Miami Beach, by the way. Yeah. Well, even that's not a beach, is it?
You're talking about South Beach, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry about this. Geography's not his strong point, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, obviously, Spieth and McIlroy are playing together. I think with Dustin Johnson in the first three one of the threes that's going out later on. I mean, is there anybody else that you fancy as an observer of the game, Steve?
Yes, I would look at Jason Day this week. I think he has a lot to prove. After missing a putt to get into the playoff at St. Andrews, he was able to come back the very next week and win. He's striking it as well as he ever has. And again, this is a perfect golf course for him. He hits it high, he hits it long, and when the putter's rolling, he's a great player. Adam Scott also. Adam played very well last week. Was in the final group at the WGC at Bridgestone. Is striking it as well as ever. His putter is always the question mark with him, but if he gets on a roll, he'll be right there as well.
Excellent stuff. Well, Steve, enjoy it. I'm sure we will.
Thanks ever so much, Steve. Great to talk to you again.
Former US Tour pro himself. The PGA Championship gets underway from Whistling Straits, the place with 100 bunkers on each hole. That's remarkable, isn't it?
Well,
this sounds mad.
Have you seen that picture I was talking about the number of bunkers between the tee and the green?
Yeah.
I mean, it's when your mum and dad used to take you to the beach when you were about like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And there were the dunes. So you parked the car here.
Yeah.
And there was the picnic area where you had the butties and the pop for lunch.
Right.
And then you ran off.
To try and avoid the sand getting into the sandwich.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah. And then you ran off over the dunes and tried to find the beach. And that's what part of this course looks like. It's within sight of Lake Michigan, isn't it?
Lake Michigan, apparently so. Apparently from every hole you can actually see Lake Michigan.
Exactly. And so I can't quite sort of work it out. You wonder whether the...
Well, it's up on the west side, isn't it, of Lake Michigan? Because it's up in the sort of Wisconsin region, isn't it?
That's right. And Lake Michigan, of course, is quite a big lake.
Very
in fact,
big.
I think it's the biggest in the world.
You could drop Britain into it.
Yeah, you could, absolutely.
I once saw it frozen, I was in Chicago once.
I've seen the lakes in Chicago frozen from the overhead railway. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it's been minus 40 at the same time.
Yes.
I love that cold weather. I love it.
Well, not that cold.
Oh, I do.
No, that's
I do.
dangerous.
I love it when it's sort of...
When I was in Chicago at that time and it was frozen, they actually were warning people not to go outside.
Yeah.
That's how cold it was.
Yeah.
I had a scarf, I remember,
over
my face.
You have to, because it can damage your lungs.
My breath made it so hard that I could actually punch the scarf without feeling anything on my face at all.
Well, that's a bit of a pity, that, because
I didn't really want to punch myself in the face.
No,
obviously.
I know, but I think it's a good thing that other people punch you in the face on a regular basis,
Well, we don't want to encourage violence on the show.
Both to improve the flabby shape of your face, but also just to inflict a bit of pain on you occasionally, to remind you that, you can't go around in the world accusing people of being sexist and all this kind of stuff without retribution.
I only do that with good cause. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that, because I've got a lot of really, really good Petard-style tweets that have come in.
Let's hear a few.
We haven't got time now.
Oh, really? You see, you've never got time. You waste so much time.
You've been rabbiting on about the sand in downtown Miami. I don't know what you're talking about. This is Talk Sport.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, here's what Lofty says. He's tweeted this at the two mics. He says, a petard is a small bomb for blowing up gates in the 17th century. Here's one from William. Says, didn't know whether to sit outside in the dark looking at the meteor showers or listen to the megastar Porky. He's bigging you up there. Did you see any meteor showers on your way in, by the way?
No.
Well, it's meant to be the biggest meteor shower tonight. Well, no, I was busy. I was
They
out.
weren't raining down on my Merc as I ploughed my way through another London night of roadworks, which make it almost impossible to drive around in this great metropolis of ours.
Why don't you just come in on the train and stop moaning about it?
Because if I came in on the train, I'd then have to find somebody else driving the car to take me home when I have finalised my recording responsibilities tonight.
Yes,
not recording, actually, broadcasting. Sorry, I'm not actually recording anything.
Well, technically we are recording.
Yes,
there will be a
right,
podcast later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Robin says, "How do you hang from a bomb? Honestly, has Porky invented his own dictionary?"
No, not at all. All I'm talking about is language changes over the years. I mean, for instance...
Yeah, but you can't completely reinvent a noun.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Which is what you've just done.
No, you don't understand.
Yes, you have.
I tried to explain it with A2 Brute. I'm not going to go through it all again, okay? Because it's wasting too much time, and there's so much we have to talk about.
We have a lot to get on with. And by the way,
so much we have to talk
later on in the show, I'm going to give you a little test. It's not a Porky quiz because we're both going to take the test.
What's the test going to be?
It's going to be on whether you're a psychopath.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now that's interesting.
It's an Andy McNabb test, which is in the papers. It's in the Sun, right?
Andy McNabb, who's the famous SAS man who got tortured by the Iraqis in the First Gulf War.
Because obviously you can't give away his identity.
Yeah.
15 questions, and you get sort of 4 multiple choice type answers.
Okay.
You know, for whether you strongly agree or strongly disagree.
Do you know why that's so interesting?
Yeah, why?
Because, I get sent all these books all the time.
Yeah.
And somebody sent me a book called Money.
Yeah.
And the subtitle is Wealth Secrets of the Top 1%, okay?
Yeah, right.
And one of the conclusions in the book is that most very wealthy people are actually psychopaths because you've got to have that killer instinct in life to well,
the word has also
to make it.
The word has also changed. Funnily enough, we're talking about the changing meaning of a word. I mean, there was a time when psychopath meant some kind of deranged killer.
Yes,
but actually, it doesn't mean that at all in the modern day usage. What it means in the modern day usage is it's a sort of you might call it a personality disorder,
sure,
or you might call it just a personality trait, even.
Yeah. Well, this book was written by a guy called Marcus Berkman, right? And in one passage, one passage of the book I was reading, he says,
he used to work for the Sunday Times.
I think he did. I think he was probably part of the Insight team or something like that. But he said, right, I know many sort of rich people. Indeed, there are $1,600 billionaires in the world today.
Right.
Fewer than 50, that's not even 5%, are bankers. Because we all assume that people who become dollar billionaires are, like in the money business. He said, most of those are from the developing world. London bankers are relative paupers, which is the first good news we've heard all day. He says that most of the people who do it have a piece of knowledge or a technique that, while not exactly criminal, certainly skirts the customs of the day, the time, and the society in which they live.
Yeah.
They take advantage. Now,
I think if you're a psychopath or you have psychopathic tendencies, you are going to err on the side of a sort of a lack of ethical behaviour, right?
Well, what I was going to say is that could actually be a great description of the way some Russian oligarchs came across their billions of pounds.
Could be.
They had the, not literally, but the killer instinct to get in while the opportunities were there to, to obtain some of the wealth of Russia. But the last one here is great. Since we were talking about changing languages, and I talked about A2 Brute.
A2 Brute.
Yeah. The first example of psychopaths becoming very rich people begin with ancient Rome. Marcus Crassus, one of the triumvirate who ruled in the first century.
Crassus.
Sorry?
Marcus Crassus.
Marcus Crassus.
That's a funny name, isn't it, for a Roman?
You've never heard of Marcus Crassus?
No, I haven't. No.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
I've heard of this other Marcus guy who used to work at the Sunday Times.
No, this is...
Marcus Crassus.
This is Marcus Crassus, yeah. Began in ancient Rome with Marcus Crassus.
A couple of centuries ago, would you say?
Why do you keep saying that?
Because you said back in ancient Rome when Et Brute was uttered, it was a couple of centuries ago. In fact, I got a tweet here from JPK. It says 44 BC, a couple of centuries ago. Genius 179 strikes again.
No. I
said it was a couple of centuries ago.
I meant a couple of millenniums ago.
Oh, right. Okay.
A couple of millenniums ago.
It's easy to confuse the two.
Yeah. I was confusing 1 century with 10 centuries.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 years with 100 years.
I don't know how you've managed to become so successful.
Can you just listen?
Yeah, go on.
I want to tell you about Marcus Crassus, okay?
Yeah, go on, Marcus Crassus.
So it began in ancient Rome with Marcus Crassus, one of the triumvirate. You know who the triumvirate were?
The 3 people?
Well, they ran Rome.
Yeah.
They ran Rome, okay? Yeah. They were the top senators
who
ruled in the first century BC.
Wasn't there 3 of them, though?
Yeah.
You know what triumvirate means?
Yeah. Well, he was one of them. There were 2 others.
Well, who were the other 2?
Well, that's
Marcus
irrelevant.
Aurelius.
That's irrelevant.
All right.
What was that line in a Carry On film? If you don't behave, I'll send you to Rome and you'll be subject to discipline from my friend Biggest Dickus. Right, anyway, listen. Marcus Crassus, one of the One of the triumvirate who ruled...
dragged through the town by the Bolsheviks. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Who ruled in the 1st century BC, so that's 2 millennium ago, okay?
Millennia?
Was at least 400,000 times richer than the average citizen.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
That's quite a lot. So
Yeah.
if the average citizen was earning, like, £1,000 a year...
Yeah.
Old Marcus Crassus was earning 400 grand a year.
Well, no, if it was 400,000 more, the other guy would only be making £1, wouldn't he? 400,000.
That's right.
Times, yeah.
So he was earning...
You can't be this bad at maths and have run several successful businesses.
So hang on. It was 400,000.
Yeah,
that's 4 billion.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
4 billion.
It would have been easier to make the allegory with £1 versus 400,000. That's what I would have done. Now, here's one from Darren.
Yes.
The Dictionary of Porkyisms, meaning, to change the meaning of sayings to suit one's own needs for situations.
Don't be ridiculous.
Steve says, hilarious, Porky's Idiot's Guide to Idioms.
What? No, listen, because I'm a student of the English language, I know how the meaning of words has developed and expanded over the millenniums.
Okay. Millennia. Martin Glenn was CEO of PepsiCo UK, says Tim, the Saints fan. He was highly successful and was well respected by employees from the shop floor up. I met him on numerous occasions. He gets things done.
Who was this?
Martin Glenn.
No, Martin Glenn, right.
So
well,
he was,
not
only was he head of United Biscuits, but he was also head of PepsiCo UK.
Yeah, he was,
which is quite good.
I knew that.
Here's one from Sean, who says, I've got a feeling it's a case of Hodgson out, Wenger in after Euro 2016, and I'm a Spurs fan.
Well, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want, no disrespect to Mr. Wenger, I don't want a French manager of the English team. I never wanted a foreign manager. I didn't want a Swedish manager in Sven, although I think Sven was very anglicised, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't want an Italian manager in the face of what was his name?
Fabio
Capello, that's right.
Here's one from Jamie.
Who never learned to speak English.
Well, he's now quite a lot richer, having worked in Russia and failed there.
And got a £10 million payoff. Yeah.
I wonder if he's a psychopath.
Yeah,
Jamie says, are England fans over-expecting? If Roy gets sacked, who do we turn to? There's no English manager good enough to step up.
No, I think Glenn Hoddle is the obvious choice, isn't
But
he?
he's already been the choice, and he wasn't that great when he was the manager. I mean, people rave on about Glenn Hoddle.
He was very good. He was very good.
Well, how very good was he?
England
didn't win anything.
We qualified and got through competitions to the quarter-final stage under Glenn.
But surely Sven has been the most successful recent England manager. I thought Sven was the most successful recent England manager.
Well, the thing is, Glenn didn't have long enough at it before he was...
Well, he didn't have long enough to fail either.
Well, yeah, but before he was kind of forced out of the job. It was a ridiculous reason why Glenn Hoddle left. He left because of the interview with the Great Times journalist,
I think today,
Matt Dickinson.
I think today it would have been the same situation. I think he would have been...
It might have been even worse today, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, all he did was make some views of his own, private views of his own, known about reincarnation and the way life is and all that kind of stuff.
But it wasn't a very smart thing to come out with.
Well,
I mean, I know that we live in a place where we should have free speech, but we don't really. If you're in a position of some responsibility, there are things you can't say and the things you shouldn't say.
I remember talking to Matt about that interview, and Matt rang him from his kitchen at home on a Saturday morning, and he was asking him about something completely separate to it, and the conversation just developed into that direction, you know. So it was one of those, you and I have both had it over the years. You stumble across a story because you didn't know it was there.
But if somebody says something like that, you know it's a story.
Well, of course.
And of course you end up running it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's one from Samuel who says, I personally don't believe Hodgson was ever the right man for the job. His teams are boring and we're going nowhere. Get him out. And Chris says England should be aiming to win the competition just like every other team in the competition. I think that's true. You know, I mean, if this guy Glenn doesn't have the cojones or otherwise to say what the performance target is, you know, what's wrong with expecting England to actually win the competition?
I totally agree. When I heard earlier, when I was coming in, you know, I don't know, about an hour before we started, something like 2 hours before we started, I heard somebody saying, you know, it's got to be an acceptable level of progression within a tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, hang on, we're England.
Yeah.
We're one of the most famous football names that's ever happened in the sport of football. Why are we compromising ourselves to
say...
And
you've often said before that when you went to cover that Euro tournament where England didn't play...
That's right.
Because the Wally with the Brolly didn't get us there.
That's right.
The tournament wasn't the same.
I totally agree.
And I don't think that's a little Englander point of view.
No, that was in Austria and Switzerland, and everybody you met said, oh, you know, I'm glad you're here, but I wish your team were here as well. It makes a competition. Yeah. It does. You know, I still think we're the biggest football nation in the world. A lot of German people would disagree because they've got a very strong domestic league as well, and their national team's very, very successful.
And
but
Spanish would probably disagree
Spanish would probably disagree as well. I totally agree.
But that's because England have let it slide away.
Yeah, exactly. And those two countries we've just mentioned have had much more recent international success.
Here's what Jennifer says. We're a Euro World Cup quarter-final team at best. You can't make a steak sandwich with a saveloy. Which I see what you're saying by that. Here's one from Cyril who says, I want to know what Hodgson does with his £5 million a year. Where does it go? People are skint, you know, he says.
He doesn't get $5 million a year, actually. They scaled that down. I think it's about 3. Yeah. But, I mean, it's still a huge amount of money.
Well, he only plays about, 5-6 games a year?
No, it's about 10 now, actually, because they throw friendlies and all that kind of stuff. But I totally agree with that. What, for instance, has Mr. Hodgson been doing since the last time England played? And you can't say, well, he's been preparing for the next England game, which I think is...
September, isn't it?
First week in September, that's right. Because
Estonia or somebody, isn't it?
Sorry?
I think it's Estonia.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And there is no preparation. He's got a team of scouts who look at games on a weekly basis and report back to him. How long does it take to read a few reports on players you already know about?
Well, you'd like to think he's going to be going to a few games, but you never know.
Do you know what? I'm not sure about that, Mike. Whenever I see the cameras flash onto the England manager at the game, I think, do you know what? I think the England manager would be better off watching it on TV.
Yeah.
Because the analysis on TV, I think, is far more revealing than anything you can see with your own eyes inside a football ground.
I think Roy Hodgson, although people say, he's a lovely guy and all that, I think he's quite an arrogant guy, and I think he would probably view his own analysis as better than anybody else's. So that's why he likes to go on his own.
Well, he may, but I'm telling you, when you see people like Graham Souness or Glenn Hoddle or Ian Wright or any of the pundits I'm talking about, even Gary Lineker, when you see them analysing the performance of a team, to me, that's much more revelatory than anything I've viewed with my own eyes because I don't have the inside knowledge of how football should work like they do. And if I was Roy Hodgson, I wouldn't go to any games. I would announce publicly, actually, I'm not going to the games. Yeah. I'm going to sit at home and watch as many analyses of this game as I possibly can, see if I can pick up some ideas.
Yeah. And then I would suggest maybe he stays at home for the England games as well. That would even be better. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. There will be, of course, a podcast coming out in about 6 hours' time, 7 hours' time, I should say. Loads and loads of tweets to read out to you. Paul says this, let's hope Pep from Munich could be the next England manager. The FA should be having talks with him now.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree. That would be completely incongruous to what English football's all about. Right. It really would. I've got one here from Liz. She, of course, is a regular correspondent, and she actually describes my forthcoming TV review, which I do tonight.
Porky Vision.
Porky Vision. She says, the Porky Vision reviews are Mike Parry's own views, and we can't wait to hear them. She's saying that Radio Times has nothing on this. So, Liz is a very well-read woman, so I'll say thank you very much indeed for that reference to what's coming up in the next hour of the show.
Oh, really? Roy says this, Porky said, the owner, Mr. Mourinho, must step in. I think you mean Abramovich, Porky, you plank. I don't remember you saying that.
What's that, sorry?
He says that you mentioned the owner, Mr. Mourinho, must step in. I think you must have misheard you.
No, well, I don't think I said Mr. Mourinho, but I mean, everybody knows I'm talking about Mr. Abramovich. I mean, the point is, the more you look at what is being written in tomorrow morning's papers, and look, we don't live or die by what's in the papers, but they do reflect a general sort of thinking pattern and all that. It seems that Mr. Comrade Abramovich is very upset about, quotes, negative publicity for his club.
Well, we're told that, but we don't really know, do we? Well, I mean, David says this, Jose has made a major blunder by upsetting the club doctor. She is popular with the players, and if she walks away, this could destabilise the team. I hope she stands up for herself against the Iberian Boar. Is the chosen one so special now? But you see, that reveals that he obviously is not a fan of Jose Mourinho, and that's what this is all about.
Exactly.
Robin says she's not done anything wrong. Yeah. She did her job right, but the papers are whipping this up, not her. He's been grumpy the last few weeks. Just ask Arsene Wenger.
I mean, the thing is, now, some of the papers are going back years and years and years, and have got historical pictures of Eva dressed up as Cleopatra at a club party and all this kind of stuff, you know, and pictures of her, that she's issued herself on Facebook, tucking into a piece of cake and all this kind of stuff. And frankly, it is now massive story. It's explosive, and you have to ask yourself, who can bring it to an end, and when will it end? Yeah. Because there's also speculation in other newspapers that she is now consulting lawyers, talking about constructive dismissal, wanting a public apology, and settling for a large sum of money in lieu of the job which she hoped she might have for the next 10 years. You know what I mean?
And unfortunately, that is the way that often these things end up going, because there'll be a lawyer somewhere on the phone saying you can make a lot of money out of this.
Exactly.
Here's one from Le Bosman who says, Jose brought it all on himself by blowing up. He should have had the players says, clued in. She did her job, end of. Frazzle says, totally Jose's fault. He could and should have had a quiet word with the doc and physio. But the other thing is that people say is that this has been rumbling on for a while, and there have been other instances where the two of them have not clearly seen eye to eye. But the thing about Mourinho, and people often accuse me of being in love with Jose Mourinho, which I'm absolutely not. I happen to think he's a great manager, and I happen to like the guy. However, in every situation that he's been in, he normally falls out with somebody, doesn't he? I mean, at Real Madrid, by the time he left, everybody hated him. Yeah. He had a big problem with Iker Casillas. Ronaldo didn't particularly fancy him very much, and he hadn't won anything for a couple of years. Yeah. And therefore, I mean, I'd be surprised if he's at that stage already with Chelsea, having only really been back a short time.
You know, the first time he left Chelsea, after he'd won 2 championships and an FA Cup.
But no Champions League.
No Champions League at that stage. We'd won an FA Cup as well. There was an incident between him and John Terry before he left, in which John Terry, right, I know this for a fact because I was told this by a Chelsea player, had a conversation with a member of the medical staff who indicated that Jose, the manager, thought that John's ability to jump to head the ball at corners, where he'd scored most of his goals for Chelsea, from set pieces and all that kind of stuff, was suddenly leaving him because there was something wrong with his calves. And his calves weren't giving him spring ability, if you see what I mean, to get up and get to the heights. And this came like out of the blue. And the players react to those sort of things because they take it as does a man have a doubt about me and all that kind of stuff.
But he could have been right, though, because John Terry actually is a better player now than he was in those days, probably.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's certainly not a worse player, is he? I mean, his durability is incredible.
And he was saying the other day he actually trains harder now than he ever did when he was still playing for England.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, he does say that, and that's because, obviously, with the passage of time, he realises he's got to be right at the top of his game to maintain the sort of level of performance that he demands of himself.
Yeah. Now, how about this one? In fact, I've got to pick you up on something, actually, from this morning's appearance on the Sports Breakfast with Mr. Brazil. Yeah. Because I actually fell asleep while you were on. I'm sorry to have to admit this to you.
Oh, really?
Because I was very tired.
Well,
it was no reflection on you.
To fall asleep during my paper review, you couldn't have slept for 4 days, because most people actually feel more alive than ever when they're listening to me.
Well, I'd been up all night, so I was tired, and so it was no reflection on you. However,
had you been up all night with my parents?
I had, actually,
with my
people
parents.
love that, I think it's the greatest jingle ever. But the thing is, it was reported back to me on Twitter that you made a statement on the Breakfast Show in which you said that Rory McIlroy was very foolish to have ever played football with his mates. Is this true?
No.
You did say it?
No.
Well, why would somebody tweet me that you said it?
I don't know. They must have misheard me.
We don't have to go back and find it, do we?
What?
We don't have to go back and find it.
No. What I almost certainly said, and of course you've got to remember, I speak millions of words in a day.
Well, I know that, but you've been arguing with me for weeks about what a great boy Rory McIlroy is and how wonderful it is that he can play football with his mates because it proves he's an ordinary guy and all that. But you've apparently completely U-turned on that now.
No, I haven't U-turned on it.
Are you denying you said it?
What I'm saying is the construction of the sentences around the issue that you're talking about,
that's
which
an
you've got
admission
wrong,
of guilt, isn't it?
Which you've got wrong.
I know you well enough to know that when you start using flowery language.
Which you've got wrong is that he would be crazy to think about playing football again in the very near future.
No, you think it was a bad idea then?
No. It wasn't a bad idea.
It wasn't a bad idea when he broke all the ankle ligaments.
I think he's a great guy to be able to be recognised as the world's #1 golfer, to be a multi-millionaire who signs contracts which bring him like 25 million quid instantly and all that kind of stuff, and to still be, so much the boy next door who can't play football with his mates. However,
you think he should now reverse that?
Well, having now experienced the fact that can be damaging to his good health and impair his ability to play golf, it wouldn't be a good idea to do it again. That's all.
All right. Well, Mike says this on Twitter at the two Mikes. Rory McIlroy states that he will continue to play football in his own time. Surely Nike will change his mind. And you think somebody would have a word with him and say, you really don't think... Because with the ligament damage that he's now done, when he's actually said himself, he's 100% fit to play golf, but he can't play football at the moment.
That's right.
So surely he'd be mad to go back and do it again.
Well, it was a freak injury, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it was a freak injury,
for years and years, you and I must have kicked the ball around in the playing fields with our mates.
I broke my wrist playing football.
Right, well, there you go.
When I was playing for the Express.
Yeah. Oh, was that at Wembley?
No, this was we used to have a five-a-side game. We used to play over at Spitalfields.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right, I remember that.
And, it was a hideously ridiculous accident.
Yes.
But I was out of commission. I had to take a week off work or something, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it painful?
Well, it was very painful, yeah. And also I had to put it in a sling. And then when I did go back to work, it was in a sling for about 6 weeks. It was
Really?
a cast.
But you looked ridiculous, didn't you?
Well, the thing was, I was foreign editor at the time, and I could only type with one hand.
Yes.
And I had to answer the phone and hold it under my shoulder, and then type with my right hand.
Frankly,
held
Mike,
my other arm up.
To be honest, the sort of drivel you've come out with over the years as a journalist, I don't think it matters whether you type with one hand, no hands, or two hands, or whether you type with your feet.
Yeah,
if you type with your toes, you'd probably make more sense.
Maybe I could go over to British Columbia and pick up a couple of those severed feet and type with them.
Well, that's a great story. I had a lot of reaction to that today. People asking me, where are all these floating feet coming from?
Yeah.
And the answer is, of course, nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows.
No.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Now, here's another one from Roy, who says, classic Porky, so much sand it looked like downtown Miami. There's that IQ of 179 again. You're never going to be able to forget that now.
No,
179 IQ.
No. Well, look, that was just a figure I pulled out of the air.
Yeah,
that was.
we know that.
That was a kind of, mean average of genii.
Yeah, exactly right. Have you seen the time, by the way?
You worry too much about the time, but I'm not going to pull you up on that because that's now become something of a cliche within this show, so I'm not going to do it.
Coming up next, we're going to do this quiz. Are you a psychopath? It's going to be Mike Parry versus Mike Graham. We'll see where it all goes. This is Talk Sport.
He's saying the ankle is 100% fit except for playing football. Well, you'd hope he wouldn't, but I mean, he shouldn't have been playing football last time, should he?
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes, and of course, one of the questions that people ask quite often and quite regularly, of me anyway, is, are you a psychopath? And there's a great piece here from Andy McNabb in The Sun, funny enough. He says, basically, that being a psychopath can improve your life. He reckons the fearlessness, ruthlessness, and lack of emotion that has seen him disguised with the disorder, diagnosed rather with the disorder, helped make him a success in the forces. So, that's the kind of background to it. So what we've got here is 15 questions, right? Which say, are you a psychopath? What I'm going to do is, we'll do them both together, right? Now, for each statement, if you say A, it means you disagree strongly.
Right.
For B, it means you disagree slightly.
Yes.
Or you disagree, just ordinarily. C, you agree. Or D, you agree very strongly.
Okay.
All right, so you ready to go? So you get that? So A, B, C, or D. So with D, means you agree strongly.
Yes.
A means you disagree strongly, okay?
And our invigilator is taking down the results
He will
assess.
add up the scores, because otherwise they'll be too complicated for us to do.
Okay.
We can't do more than two things at once.
Right.
Question number one.
Yes.
I rarely plan ahead. I'm a spur-of-the-moment kind of person.
Let me see.
So do you agree or disagree?
Do I... right. Let me see. Right. That is an A. I disagree.
You disagree you disagree strongly then?
I disagree strongly, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll put you down for that. I'm going to say I disagree, but not strongly.
Okay.
So I'm a B.
Yeah.
Question number two. Cheating on your partner is okay so long as you don't get caught.
Let me see there. I kind of agree.
You agree, so that would be a C then?
Yes.
Okay, well, I would go C as well, so that's the same. Question number three. If something better comes along, it's okay to cancel a long-standing appointment.
No, I disagree strongly with that.
Do you?
I hate letting people down, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say I agree with that. Question number four. Seeing an animal injured or in pain doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Totally disagree with that.
Strongly?
Strongly disagree.
Okay, I strongly disagree with that as well. Question number five. Driving fast cars, riding roller coasters and skydiving appeal to me.
I kind of agree, but not strongly.
Okay, I would say the same for me, so that's a B for both of us. Question number six. It doesn't matter if I have to...
No, hang on. You said B. I said I agree, but not strongly. That's a C.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a C.
C.
Yeah, you're right.
C.
You're right. This is why I'm not adding it up.
Yeah.
Question number six. It doesn't matter if I have to step on other people to get what I want. Well, I can answer that one for you.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you would agree strongly with that, wouldn't you? Look at all the people you've stepped on to get where you are. What about the guy who used to go home for his sandwiches at the Chester Chronicle?
Yes.
And every time he did, you file more stories to the editor of the paper.
Yeah, I would, yeah. I would agree, but not strongly. I mean, I have the milk of human kindness, but I'm also ambitious, so that's a C, agree.
That's a C?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go D there.
You're going to go D?
Yeah.
So you are more ruthless than me then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Question number 7. But it's all, you've got to tell the truth as well.
What makes you think I'm not telling the truth?
Well, because I think you're as ruthless at least as I am.
All right, I'll go for a D there then. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, you've got to be honest. I mean, otherwise you really are. You'd be more of a psychopath if you start telling lies in a psychopath test.
Okay.
Question number 7.
Yeah.
I'm very persuasive. I have a talent for getting other people to do what I want.
People don't always do what I want them to do, to be honest, so that's going to have to be a C.
That's a C. All right, I'm going to go D there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Question number 8. I'd be good in a dangerous job because I can make my mind up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that strongly.
That's
a D.
That's a D for both of us. Question number 9. I find it easy to keep myself together in situations when others are cracking under pressure.
Oh, that's definitely a D.
Is it a D?
That's a D, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, strongly.
It's a D for me as well.
Yeah.
Question number 10. If you're able to con someone, that's their problem. They deserve it.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. D. D. Agree strongly.
Yeah, particularly that bloke that you sold the Vauxhall Beetle to.
That's right, yeah.
I
Absolutely.
disagree strongly with that one. So I'm an A there. Question number 11. Rules are meant to be broken.
I strongly agree with that as well.
Do?
That's a D, yeah.
That's a D. So
yeah.
I think you're getting a lot of Ds here. I'm going to go D there as well. 12. I don't worry about a lot of things.
No, I'm an A there. I worry about everything.
Yeah, okay. And I'm a D for that one.
Right.
13. I'm not a warm person.
No, that's a C. No, sorry, that's a B. I disagree with that.
Okay,
That's a B.
I disagree strongly, so I'm an A there.
Right, okay.
I can be rude sometimes.
No, I never set out to be rude.
What?
So
You're saying you disagree that you can't be rude.
Well, I'll make it a C then. I'll agree because it does happen sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll make myself a D there.
Right, I'm a C.
Yeah, and then finally, I don't find it easy to forgive.
Yeah, I agree strongly with that. If people, screw me over, I do feel a sense of injustice, definitely.
Well, I'm going to go B there because I disagree.
Okay.
All right, so those are our scores. So Mr. Levine behind the glass will be adding up the scores and he'll bring them through perhaps and tell us what they are.
Yeah.
Maybe we can read a couple more tweets in the meantime.
Yeah.
Here's one from Brian in Islington. He says, Dear Mr. Graham, if Roy Hodgson is to be replaced by Arsene Wenger, then it will mean Tony Hancock being replaced by Inspector Clouseau.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, considering we took that out of a national newspaper, I want to read the story in this national newspaper. I'm going to say which one it is, but a remarkable story here where a load of holidaymakers in Turkey, I think you went there last year, didn't you, for your holiday, suddenly thought that this is the hotel staff thought it'd be very funny to dress up as IS terrorists and run around with fake guns and even cans full of liquid, which they told the guests in the hotel was petrol, and started pretending they were IS terrorists and they're about to blow up the hotel.
What an idiotic thing to do.
What kind of a game is that?
Well, that's just ridiculous.
What kind of a game is that?
Yeah.
Why don't they close that hotel down? It's ludicrous.
Absolutely unbelievable. Now, I've got the results here.
Yeah.
It's me 29 and you 27.
So what does that mean?
What that means is, as far as I can... let me see if I can
You're a
find
more ruthless person than me.
Hang on, I think the chances of being a psychopath are average for both of them, actually.
Are they? Is that what it says?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just find it.
Yeah. That's not a very satisfactory conclusion. Oh, chances are average. You're either a mad psychopath or you're not. That's all.
Your
what
chances
we want
of
to
being
know.
a psychopath are average. It's 21 to 30.
Oh, really? Well, that's very inconclusive in my mind. No. I mean, we gave the audience the big build-up, to find out whether we're psychopaths or not, and the conclusion is chances are average.
Well, it means that we're bored, and it means that we're not psychopaths.
Well, it also means we could be. So I found that very inconclusive, actually. What a waste of time that survey was.
I don't think it was
complete
a waste
of time. Because it's supposed to tell you whether you're psychopathic material or not.
Well, it says that
it doesn't seem to me like it did.
You have an average chance of being a psychopath. I mean, obviously, if you're anything below 25 or something like that, then you've got no chance.
Yeah.
So you're sort of on the scale.
Yeah.
It means that you've got tendencies, but you are not actually necessarily as heartless and ruthless as you think.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And maybe that's. You seem upset that you're not a psychopath.
No, I'm not. I'm very pleased that.
We never talk. I think if you prefer, we could go back and try and find that narcissist test.
No,
because you definitely get that one.
No.
I've never seen anybody so disappointed that they're not a psychopath.
No, I just think it was a bit of an inconclusive poll. Normally speaking, when you get the results, God Almighty, you're definitely psychopathic material, or oh, it's okay, you're a really nice person, you don't want to go around killing anybody. But the conclusion there is that
it's not about being a murderer.
Is that you might be. I find a little disappointing, that's all, and I'm sure the audience will as well.
Oh, okay.
No, go on.
Let me read you a couple more tweets. Here's one from Rob, who says, if the weather is hot tomorrow, I may visit Birmingham Beach and catch a few waves.
Yes, okay, no. In fact, what the nearest thing in Birmingham to a stretch of water.
It's a canal, isn't it?
Well, Birmingham's got more canals than Venice.
Yeah.
That's an old statistic, but that's not surprising because Venice is a very small city.
Well, indeed. And also, it's not a canal city, is it? Whereas Venice is.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's also got more roads than Venice.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah.
And, you wouldn't make that a big point, would you?
But there's a place called, is it Hurstpierpoint? Near Nottingham.
I don't know.
Which is the biggest...
Well, you went to Nottingham University, didn't you? Sorry, the University of the Trent.
University of the Trent, yeah. And I think it's the biggest indoor stretch of sporting water in the world.
Is it?
'Cause it's where rowers go to train.
Oh, is it?
Is it Hurstpierpoint?
I don't know, I've never heard of it.
I think it is, yeah.
I've never heard of it.
I think it is.
What about where they had the rowing at the Olympics, though?
Where was that?
Didn't they have it out by near Reading somewhere? Didn't they have it
Reading?
sort of out near Ascot somewhere?
Was it on a river or was it?
Oh, I thought they had a kind of.
Wasn't that in Henley, on the Thames?
Well, no, Henley's where they have the regatta.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I thought when they had the Olympics, they had a special kind of stretch of water that they used for the rowing.
Did they?
Which was out somewhere by Ascot, I thought.
No, I don't think so. No,
really?
I think you got that wrong. Right, now then, to read out a few of these tweets, okay? Yeah. I'm trying to find a few which are positive. Let me see.
This is a great one here from Divrio. He says, Parry doesn't want to be known as a sexist, and in order to prove he isn't one, he will be punching people in the face.
Well, no, I didn't.
That's what he's.
I didn't say that. Now, Liz, who is our regular correspondent, says
you've already read one of hers out.
Yeah, I know, but she's very persistent. She says, "Leave my Porky alone." So that's a general message to everybody. Okay, don't mess with me, otherwise you'll be in trouble. That's fine. And what does it say here? Let me see. I'm trying to find one to read out, which is positive.
Yeah, you could be some time looking for that.
Here, old Roy, trying to be funny, says in the test to find out whether or not Porky's a psychopath, he scored 179 on the quiz. Yeah. I see. Yes, another Mickey take. There,
yeah, indeed. Yeah. And Samuel says if Glenn Hoddle is the best option out there, then we might as well give up. He's been out of the game far too long to compete.
Hey. No, I don't think he has. I don't think he has, because when I see Glenn acting as a pundit on television, he picks up things which I think are incredibly astute, and I think to myself, that man should be coaching football again. Wow. I do. And I'm amazed he hasn't got where was he last at? Was it QPR?
No, he was down at Swindon, wasn't he? Oh, yeah, he was at QPR. No, he got brought into QPR as one of about 5 people
that's right.
to help them get relegated. Yeah, so how is that a qualification?
Well, I think if you're one of 5, you don't have much control over the overall pattern, do you,
Well, I don't know. What was he doing there?
I think he was I think he was a sort of midfield coach, if you see what I mean.
That's what I mean, but what was he doing? I mean, clearly he wasn't having any level of success.
No, the problem is, if you're as good as Glenn Hoddle, when you want people to do things you used to do, they can't actually do them.
Well, that means you have to then taper your instructions so that they can do things that you're asking them to do.
Yeah,
surely.
You're probably right. Now, somebody here says, talking about calves required to jump, Mike, have a look at Stoke newbie Shaqiri's calves. And in fact, I think Shaqiri's calves. Yeah. I think he's confusing calves with thighs, because I saw a piece yesterday saying that this new guy who signed for Stoke, Shaqiri, he's the £12 million signing, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He used to play for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, that's right. His thighs are literally like tree trunks from an oak tree. Yeah. He's got the most massive muscle development in his legs in the world. Right. So I think you're confusing thighs with you don't
want to do that
with calves.
No.
Yeah.
Now coming up, we're talking to this naval historian, Dr. Phil Weir.
Great.
He's based down in Exeter. We're going to talk about HMS Hood.
Good.
It's a fascinating story.
Really pleased
Porky,
about
of
that.
course, is an expert in naval history. So
yes, I am,
hopefully you won't be trying to disregard some of the stuff that he's going to come out with. But that's all coming up next on TalkSport. TalkSport, we are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out very, very shortly in about, 7 hours' time or so. There's a song I haven't heard for a long time.
Well,
Mike Bells, do you remember that?
To be honest, and I'm not going to go anybody here, and we all do a great job, but that song's a little bit inappropriate for the story we're going to discuss, because, Ring My Bell is all about, a disco song and, young people.
It's got bell in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I know, but we're talking really about an incredibly historic artefact from a ship ship that is revered within Royal Navy legend. I'm not going to go on everybody for playing that song. I'm glad they did, because it means bell, but I don't want the audience to think we're treating it lightly. That's
not at all. No, absolutely not. It's a remarkable story.
Absolutely. And can I just say, before we go to Dr. Weir, that the listener who sent me the word about Shaqiri, the new signing, and I questioned whether he meant calves or thighs, has actually sent me a picture of Mr. Shaqiri's calves. He's absolutely right.
They are rather
large, spectacularly muscular. Yes. So thank you for that, Rowan.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to talk to Dr. Phil Weir, who's down in Exeter, naval historian. It turns out that American philanthropist Paul Allen, who's led a team, he's one of the
co-founder of Microsoft.
Yeah, he's led a team to the bottom of the Atlantic, the North Atlantic, to retrieve this bell from the wreck, which was lying at a depth of 2,800 metres.
Incredible.
Which is absolutely extraordinary. Yeah. Let's talk to Dr. Weir and find out what he makes of it all. Dr. Weir, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. This is a remarkable story, really, not least, I suppose, in how long it's taken for anybody to get down deep enough to find the bell and to then be able to bring it back to the surface.
Oh yeah, it's quite extraordinary. I mean, it took a very long time to find the wreck. I think the chap who found it, who is the guy who's actually brought the bell up, David Mearns, I think he started looking for Hood back in 1995, finally found her on the floor of Denmark Strait in 2001, returned in 2012 to try and salvage this bell first time round, and were unfortunately foiled by bad weather and a few other factors, and they've finally managed it, and it is an extraordinary feat.
It absolutely is, Doctor. Is there any moral question here, Doctor, about disturbing a war grave? Thousands of men literally lost their lives in the sinking of the Hood by the Bismarck, and whilst I appreciate the desire to get something back, there's also the sanctity of the location it came from, isn't there?
There is, and it is always one of those incredibly difficult questions when you're looking at what is essentially a piece of battlefield archaeology with regard to what you're doing with, as you say, what is essentially a war grave. I'm
not knocking it. I'm not knocking it, Doctor. Honestly, I'm just trying to make sure that people know the reasons why we do these things. I mean, the celebration of the heroism of the men on the Hood, I think, has to be recognised, and this is one way of doing it.
I agree. I really do. The bell itself has been removed with no disturbance of human remains. It's going to be taken and put into the National Museum of the Royal Navy down in Portsmouth, where it will be displayed, I have absolutely no doubt, with due reverence.
Definitely.
As part of a marvellous display dedicated to the Hood and to the loss of the men. And it will also give families of those who were lost a physical place to come and pay their respects.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
But there are inevitably going to be some people out there who will sit and say, "Well, this is desecration of a war grave, no matter what."
They found the bell in this part of the North Atlantic, which is obviously, as you described it, very kind of difficult to salvage anything from because of the way that the weather is there between Greenland and Iceland, where it sank in the Denmark Strait. I mean, what else was down there? Because I've seen a picture of what looks like a sort of electronic robotic arm lifting the bell up literally from the ocean floor. I mean, is the rest of the Hood kind of still there, as it were?
There are significant parts of her still there. The bow particularly is very much intact. Large sections of the midships area essentially no longer exists, where a lot of the main explosion came through. The stern is also actually reasonably intact, and both of them sort of sitting pointing upwards on the seabed. But there is a vast sort of chunk of the Hood that is missing because of the way she sank in an absolute catastrophic explosion of her powder magazines.
Yeah, it was blown apart, literally, wasn't it? Doctor, can you tell us briefly, for the benefit of our listeners, the story of what happened to the Hood? Because it was sunk by the Bismarck, and am I right in saying it was the Bismarck's first and last mission?
You are correct, yes. Bismarck had been commissioned really sort of around the end of 1940 and had spent some time working up in the Baltic Sea, exercising, getting her crew used to working the ship, and yes, the mission out into the Atlantic was her first and last mission.
I think Churchill issued the historic command, didn't he, after the Hood went down, sink the Bismarck?
Yes, I mean it was a hugely important thing to do. Bismarck was an extremely powerful battleship. She is, I think, frequently overrated by a lot of people, or not entirely overrated, talked up into some sort of absolute super ship, which she wasn't quite, but she was very good, an absolute top-line modern battleship. Yeah. Very, very dangerous to Britain's lifeline, which were, of course, the convoys coming across the Atlantic. Yeah. If she got loose amongst one or two convoys, she would wreak absolute havoc. So, yes, the order went out to sink the Bismarck at all possible costs.
And I think wasn't it an old-fashioned swordfish biplane which paid to the Bismarck?
Yes, to a very large extent. She had escaped, by and large, sometime after sinking the Hood. There were a couple of cruisers trailing her using radar, and they lost her, unfortunately, in thick weather and so forth. And it took a little while before they found her again, and yes, HMS Ark Royal, steaming north from Gibraltar, intercepted her as she was heading towards Brest in France, and rather fortunately managed to score a torpedo hit on her stern, which slowed her down. And in actual fact, it damaged her rudder too, and ended up pointing her back north towards British forces. And the British Home Fleet arrived and of course, duly sank her. Yeah. But yes, it was a quite spectacular mission by the Swordfish aircraft, which, incidentally, we flying over. An example of which will be flying over London on Saturday for the VJ Day commemorations. These guys were taking off from a heaving carrier deck that was going up and down about 50 feet. It was measured at approximately. Yeah. And yes, they managed to hit her and hit her in the right place as well. Yeah,
amazing.
To imagine really what that must have been like in those kind of conditions.
Absolutely. Just one last question, Doctor, because we've run out of time. My father was in the Royal Navy during the Second World War. He joined when he was 17 in 1940. When his ship was torpedoed in the Atlantic, the captain told him to go down to the captain's cabin and get the log. Why was that so important to retrieve it?
It depends on what was in it, and it's logs. Ship's logs, very important record of information. Just generally, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what mission your father's ship was on at the time, but it was presumably related to the information that was contained therein.
Yeah, sure. It's just one of those naval things. Doctor, thank you very much indeed.
Dr. Phil Weir, thanks very much. Dr. Phil Weir, the naval historian. His Twitter address is @naval historian if you want to ask him any other further questions. Fascinating story, that. And we'll talk a bit more about this coming up because we're running out of time. Yeah. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up in the next hour, of course, it's Porky Vision, and there will be a podcast coming out around about 9 o'clock this morning. Fascinating conversation that was with the naval historian. You seem to know quite a lot about it. I was going to ask him, but I didn't get a chance to do it. Why the bell and why would they go after the bell? Because, surely, I know that you were saying it's sometimes, offensive to some people that it's a war grave and all of that. Yeah. But, if you're going to go after some aspect of the wreck,
some artefact,
why would you bring the bell? Is that the easiest thing they could find or something?
No. First of all, I didn't want to question the bringing up of the bell as though it was something wrong. It wasn't. It's absolutely right. But I wanted to make the difference, which I perhaps didn't make clear, between taking the bell off a war grave ship like the Hood and what's happened with the Titanic. Yeah. Since the Titanic's been found, people now know where it is, and they're going and they're taking artefacts from the Titanic and they're selling them, and raiding the site. Yeah. So I don't want that to happen to HMS Hood. That's the only point I was making. Right. The reason it's the bell, Mike, is because if you go back to the days of HMS Victory, our most famous ever warship, they didn't have internal PA systems. So, this is the captain speaking, battle stations and all that kind of stuff.
They had that telegraph thing, presumably, didn't they? The thing that they used to sort of use from the bridge.
Well, that
sent messages.
No, that was a signal from the bridge to the engine room as to how fast and in which direction they wanted the ship to go, and which way they wanted the rudder to point, and all that kind of stuff. But the bell in Nelson's days, if you rang twice, it meant full sail. If you rang once, it meant half sail, and that kind of thing. It meant 4 times. It was man the cannons, open the the windows, and all that kind of stuff. And that's why the bell is so important. The bell was the central communication system of a ship. Okay. And to this day, in Lloyd's of London, which is the biggest insurer of shipping in the world, if a ship goes down, they ring the bell, because that's the most significant thing about a ship, So it's all. So
this bell, by the looks of it, is going to end up in Portsmouth, isn't it?
It's going to end up within 100 yards of HMS Victory.
You have to go and see it then.
Yeah, we'll definitely go and see it, because HMS Victory is in dry dock there, right next to the Royal Naval Museum. Right. And when the bell arrives, there'll be a huge ceremony, because it'll be like really bringing somebody's body back from the sea, if you see what I mean. And as as our expert there said, there'll be a family ceremony. And now I know that it was 1941, wasn't it, when the Hood went down? So there won't be many living relatives of the sailors who sadly died in that ship, but their sons and daughters. For instance, if it had been my father, he would have been 18, and so I'm a living relative, so to speak, and I'm sure there'll be many more.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to some of the tweets that have come in. Tony, on the subject of that Olympic rowing course, it was in a place called Eton Dorney, which you might remember.
What was that, sorry?
Eton Dorney, D-O-R-N-E-Y. Eton Dorney is where they had the Olympic rowing stuff.
Oh, Eton Dorney,
And it's a lake near Windsor. So I don't think they've got a special kind of place for it, but it was in a specific kind of place that they just used for that.
Believe it or not, without being elitist, I think that's where Eton College do all their rowing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Now, there's one that came in a little bit earlier, and I was going to read it earlier, but there wasn't an opportunity. It's from Dave the Milk, who is on Twitter, and he tweeted at the 2 mics. He says, I saw Porky earlier on the bladderation trail with Mr. Brazil. Thanks for saying hello.
Oh, did I say hello?
Canary, #No Sleep Wednesday.
Oh, right.
So were you in Canary Wharf then?
I was in Canary Wharf today, yeah, but I was
in Canary Wharf today.
Oh, yeah?
You didn't tell me you were in Canary Wharf.
What time were you in Canary Wharf?
I was there about 2.
Oh, right, I was there too.
Were you?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
I had to go to the bank, and it happens to be my nearest bank.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, Mr. Rizal to go to a bank, that's why we were there.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't on the bladderation trail at all. I was
Were you near? Because I was quite near. I go to the Nat West, which is just round the corner from the Waitrose. There.
Right, okay.
You weren't in the Waitrose bar, were you? Because if you were, I was literally feet away from you.
No, we went in the Waitrose bar. Tell you what we did. We were in Browns, which is at West India Quay, on the far side of the water, so to speak. We went over the bridge and we went to Canary Wharf tube station.
Right.
And then we did actually pop in and see somebody in a little eatery and have some lunch there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What, near All Bar 1, around that sort of area?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know what I discovered?
Were you around there?
Well, yeah, because I came on the tube, because I basically, I live one stop from there. But one of the things that really annoyed me today, which I only just discovered, and by the way, we should say that ASLEF, the train drivers' union, has said that they're not going to support the tube strike in later on this month.
Is that right?
And they've actually said,
why is
that? Well, they've said that they don't agree with the strike action.
Right.
Last night we talked about how it's going to be basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's going to be the whole week.
Yes.
The ASLEF guys, who are much more sensible, it would seem to me, than Unite,
have
basically said, look, we're not going to join in. So I think they've scuppered the idea that there's going to be another strike. But anyway, quite often what I do is I go from one shop to another underground.
Right.
And you used to be able to walk through Canary Wharf Station.
Yes.
If with an Oyster card, you could go through one barrier and then go out the other side.
That's right.
And it would cost you no money at all.
Yeah.
Right? They've now got a sign up, and as I came out from basically the Waitrose exit to go to the other side,
right.
A sign up saying, unless you wish to be charged for walking across this concourse,
right.
you would be advised to go back the other way and go all the way around the houses. So I thought, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
But they charged me £3.15 for basically walking 100 yards across the concourse.
And if you hadn't sort of checked out at the other end, it would have been like a lot more, about £17.
Well, if I hadn't bothered doing it, yeah.
So
no, but they said we will charge you for a sort of a Zone 1 fare.
Absolutely
Which
disgraceful.
seems ludicrous, doesn't it? But what I did find, which was one of the things that was good about it, because I was trying to get some foreign exchange.
Yes.
And I went into the bank and I said to them, by the way, have you got any dollars? And they went, well, it depends how many you want. And I was like, well, I don't want many. I just want a couple of hundred, right? And so he said, well, to be honest, I'm not sure we've got that many. And I don't know what banks are doing these days.
A bank hasn't got a couple hundred
we're talking
US
about
dollars.
US dollars. You'd think, it wasn't Mexican pesos I was looking for. And he actually said to me, to be honest, we now send people to this other place. And I'm not going to give their name out because it might just be an advert for them. But, it was a brilliant place, which has got an office at Canary Wharf, and it's a bureau de change, basically.
Yeah.
And they don't charge any commission.
Yeah.
So I went down there.
So how do they make any money?
Well, I think they run as a foreign exchange kind of desk.
Right.
So they've got traders who are sort of,
I see.
doing the spreads and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's how they make the money.
Right.
But the guy said to me, well, it's 153 to the pound. So if you give me £100, I'll give you $153.
Yeah.
And I imagine if you went to a bank, you'd get about 130.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought it was one of the great discoveries of all time.
Very good. Now, I want to show you...
I'm sorry I didn't know you were there, actually. Well, that's probably just as well.
Well...
Because I then went back to bed.
To be honest, I never ring you during the day, because I don't know whether you're up or sleeping
exactly.
or whatever. But I just want to show you this tweet, because I'm not sure if it's a joke or not, but it makes me laugh, because it says... It's got a picture of a bloke in a Busby, the sort of guys who patrol outside Buckingham Palace, punching another man in the face. It says, Queen's Guard punches tourist in the face.
Punches a tourist in the face?
Outside Buckingham Palace. I mean, is that a joke, or is that sort of welcome to England?
Well, it's from the Sun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've just lost that. I'll have a look in the Sun and see if it's in there.
I mean... That's absolutely ridiculous.
How very strange.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, I'm sure the Queen's Guards don't go around punching tourists in the face.
No. Well, normally the only time you ever see them making the papers is when one of them faints.
Yeah, exactly.
On parade, when one of them just sort of hits the deck.
Yeah.
But because one of the hardest jobs in the world, is standing there while, especially down the mall,
yes,
where tourists are all taking pictures of you, and you're supposed to stand absolutely straight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all these kind of teenage girls come up and try and make them laugh and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
very, very difficult.
I'll stand next to you. Somebody is, by the way, sorry to interrupt there, sent us a picture of their foot. Having 3 years ago suffered the same injury as Rory McIlroy, and saying it's never got better.
Yeah.
Who's that from? It's from David.
Yeah.
It says, Rory should not rush back, had a similar injury after a horror tackle. Oh, no, I'm sorry, this is in 83.
Blimey.
So that's like 30 years ago, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
And it still swells up. Blimey.
Yeah, extraordinary. Robbie says this, Herne Bay Air Show, the 15th of August, please mention Amy Johnson Memorial flyover with a Lancaster bomber.
Oh, right, okay.
Then we mentioned VJ Day, which is obviously going on in London.
Yeah.
Here's one from Frazzle, who says the fact that the bell will have the ship's name engraved on it would surely be the major reason. And Irish says, Porky will think for a week now, why am I not a psychopath? Ha-ha.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It is somewhat disappointing, but I wouldn't like to be branded a psychopath under any circumstances because they are one of the most despicable sort of classes of people in society, aren't they?
Well, they really are.
And always want to be that.
Except that now that the phrase has kind of entered common usage, it's no longer, like I say, it no longer means that you are some kind of, rampant murdering maniac.
Sure.
It just means that you might be quite a ruthless and successful person. And I think the fact that we are kind of borderline would suggest that, that's why we've been we've had a modicum of success.
Yes.
But I mean, when you start asking questions about, would you like to see, does it bother you or not bother you when you see an animal suffering?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to be a maniac to answer, it doesn't bother you.
Well, that's like pulling the wings off flies and all the kind of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about psychopaths and all this, right? Because, I read all the books that I get sent and all that kind of stuff. In years to come, maybe 100 years or maybe 120 years, do you know there will be no criminality?
What do you mean?
Everything that somebody does which is bad will be explained away as not their fault. It was a chemical in their brain.
You think?
I'm absolutely certain about it. And in 120 years or something, there won't be courts like the Old Bailey, which try people for being bad. There will be institutions to try and help people who have, unfortunately, been born with the bad gene, which led them to go around being a serial killer and all this kind of stuff. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a bit of that, but I don't think it'll ever come to a point where the law is no longer,
it will.
taking the view that anyone is responsible for their own actions.
No, it will. I'm telling you.
Well, this is like one of your predictions.
No, it is. Yeah, I'm telling you. What will happen is that everything will be explained away as not the fault of the individual, but a fault of something in his brain that he was born with, or something in his genes. And he was unable to control the urge to do what he did, which was criminal.
Right.
I'm telling you.
I don't believe that.
Well, there won't be. They will. They'll knock down all the prisons and build like institutions and hospitals instead.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Well, no. I mean, I can see where you're going with it, and I can see why you would say that.
Yeah.
But I just think that there are. I mean, for example, I don't want to go down a particularly grisly route, but I mean that story last a couple of days ago of the guy who murdered the young girl in Glasgow.
Yes.
After picking her up for outside.
Horrible story.
Absolutely incredibly horrible story. I mean, in many ways, he would be an ideal candidate for that.
Yeah.
Because he's the kind of guy who, had difficulty forming relationships.
Yes.
He had difficulty, finding work and holding a job down.
Yeah.
He was, clearly a bit of a recluse,
Yes.
a bit of a loner, a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
But, they put him through the system and they did not say that he was either unfit to stand trial or that there was something wrong with him which made him, do it.
But in 100 years' time they will.
I don't think they will because I think there are people nowadays who would have wanted that to be the outcome. But with him, they didn't do it.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, Mike, think about it. 200 years ago, people got locked up in debtors' jails because they'd started a business, it went wrong, and they owed people money. So that was seen as a terrible crime, right?
Yeah.
Now, we wouldn't even think about locking somebody up for debt these days, would we? Not unless they were...
Well, no, they still do.
No,
still get locked up for debt.
No, not for simple debt. Not for the fact that you can't pay your mortgage because you lost your job, right? You don't get locked up for that. You get locked up if you launch a Ponzi scheme and rob, 30 million people off old age pensioners who've given you their life savings because they think they're going to get it back in spades, But what I'm saying is, simple debt used to be a crime. I mean, for goodness sake, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you could be locked up for being a homosexual.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, society increasingly, pushes back the barriers of what they see. I mean, nobody in the right mind these days would say that being a homosexual is criminal.
Yeah.
Nobody in the right mind would say, because you can't pay your mortgage because you're out of work is criminal. But 200 years ago it was.
Yeah, no, I get where you're going. I just disagree with you. I think absolutely it will not happen. But fascinating conversation, no doubt.
Indeed.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later. Here's a text from somebody who doesn't give... Oh, actually, it's a tweet from Sam, who says the Queen's Guard picture punching someone was a prank.
Yeah, exactly.
Done by the troll stations, whoever they are.
I was going to say.
Actually exist.
But
here's
can't be true.
An even better one from Matt, who says the Jeremy Vine topic yesterday was drones. Where was the world's leading drone expert?
Well,
I suppose you can only be on so many times a week,
exactly. And funny you should say that. I mean, I've been reading up on drones over the last couple of weeks, and I can tell you now that the world is finally waking up to what I've been trying to tell the world for the last 6 months, that the presence of drones in our society is one of the most dangerous developments of the modern world.
Yeah, I know.
You can fly a drone over. We don't want to put ideas into people's heads, but this is now what's being written about. You can fly a drone over a football ground with 50,000 people in it.
Well, I remember they did it in that Albanian game, didn't they?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, it could then have a detachable explosive device which you drop into the ground, it blows up.
A petard, even.
Yeah, exactly, a petard. You're absolutely right. And, let me read this to you. Drone laws too weak to stop crashes. Rules aimed at preventing catastrophic mid-air collisions between hobby drones and passenger aircraft are not fit for purpose, air safety investigators have concluded.
Really?
Modern technology allows hobbyists...
But they're working on this, aren't they? They're going to come up with more regulations.
That's right. These guys are called hobbyists, the guys who fly drones.
Yeah.
Modern technology allows hobbyists to operate drones well beyond the current regulatory framework designed to ensure safe operation in a shared aviation environment. An official report of the UK Air Prox Board says, which tracks near misses in the skies. I mean, it's a huge problem. A huge problem. And no, how about this one here?
Can you ever imagine buying one of these things?
No. But I've said to you before, I have actually bought them in the past.
Have you?
You know, I've told you.
Oh, well, those little helicopters. Yeah.
Little
It's not
helicopter.
quite the same thing, though. I think they're much more sophisticated than that now.
My sister's got a very big house in Bournemouth, okay?
Yeah.
It overlooks a golf course.
Don't say where it is.
No, well, no, I won't. But what I'm saying is she's got a huge kitchen which overlooks a golf course, most of its windows and all that, and it's got one of these central units in the middle. Yes, she does, actually.
Does she?
Yeah, they do.
Because you know when you go down playing...
They crack tiles on her roof.
Because you know when you go down and play in Florida, where they actually build houses around the golf courses, and in Carolina as well, and all sorts of places in America, they've actually got netting over all of the houses. And I've often thought, I wouldn't want to live in a house that's got netting all over it.
No, they don't have netting, but they get golf balls, bang, they smack on the roof and crack the tiles. One even cracked a pane of glass in the top floor.
And what does she do about that? Does she get any...
Complains to the golf club.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't pay for it, do
they? They do. They will pay compensation,
really?
Yeah, they've had compensation from a couple of times. But anyway, the point of my story is, you know, on Christmas Day, when having a bit of a laugh after lunch and all that, I say to my nephew, Tom, go and get that thing out of the boot of my car, and it's a little helicopter with a handheld device, and you put
a remote control.
It's a remote control, but
it's not a handheld device.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. But even I can work it. It's so easy. You know, you pull this little lever back, and the helicopter takes off, and then you can move it forward, left and right. That, in effect, is a drone.
It is. Now, I'm actually looking at some drones that you can now buy, right?
Yes.
And it's very simple. I've just Googled it, and there's one called a Unique Q500 Typhoon RTF with CG02 GB camera and free handheld steady grip, $959.99.
And you can buy it.
Yeah.
And you don't need a licence or anything.
I mean, there's literally hundreds of these things.
Yeah.
Blade Nano for $299, that's 300 quid. One for 700 quid, 350 QX3 AP combo drone.
Yes.
There's a very bizarre-looking one, which is called a mini drone rolling spider. Look at the two big wheels.
Yeah.
That's 89 quid. So that's like the cheapest one you can get.
So eventually we have to conclude that there'll be drones big enough to lift a man and transport him.
Well, that's a bit of a stretch.
No, it's not. Why is that a stretch?
Well, because in order to carry heavy loads, it would have to be completely different construction.
Yeah, well, it's still a drone.
I mean, it would have to be like one of those. It would have to be like what do you call those helicopters that they use in the army?
The
Chinooks. The Chinooks
with two blades.
Yeah.
But listen to this, and this was written by a lady called Claire Foges, and she's David Cameron's former chief speechwriter.
Oh, yeah.
She says, retail giant Amazon has decided it wants to own a slice of the sky.
Yeah.
Not the broadcaster, as in Sky, you know, broadcasting, but the beautiful and occasionally blue thing above our heads.
Yeah.
Why so? It is so that they can cordon off a strip of the atmosphere between 200 and 400 feet high in which to fly unmanned aerial vehicles or drones to deliver its products in record time. Its website boasts that it is excited about this proposal, which with typical corporate naffness it has dubbed a vision, as it means that in the future packages will be delivered to customers worldwide, Mike, in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
One day, Amazon enthusiasts seeing drones shuttling around the sky will be as normal as seeing mail trucks on the road. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if they can shuttle parcels around the world, how heavy are the parcels going to be?
Well, I suppose you're right. I mean, they could be up to, I don't know, 10, 12 pounds, 20 pounds.
Well, they could be 200 pounds eventually, and that's the weight of a man.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the start of Thunderball, where James Bond escapes from the balcony after killing the Russian general who was dressed up as a woman after the funeral.
Well.
And he puts the pack on, remember, and he's got two handheld controls. And
that's like a jetpack,
The jetpack, and those jetpacks are going to become reality when drones start lifting people and transporting them about.
I remember watching Tomorrow's World, which you must have watched.
Mind you,
it'd
have to be a very big drone to lift you and take you about.
Well,
because of your grossness.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily need to do that because I've got many other means of getting around. But I mean, you know, Tomorrow's World was full of those kinds of inventions, wasn't it? And
it was.
And when James Bond was around and Sean Connery, everyone said, "Well, by the year 2000, we'll all be flying around in jetpacks." And we're not.
Right. No, I know we're not.
It doesn't happen.
But drones are flying around. Drones work.
Jennifer points out that there was that story earlier this week. Drones are being used to drop drugs into prisons in the USA.
Yes,
did you see that?
That's right. Yes, I saw that.
They dropped drugs in, and there was a massive riot.
That's right.
They all tried to get their hands on them.
That's right. Yeah,
absolutely extraordinary stuff.
Absolutely.
Now, let me tell you about the most boozy city in England.
Yeah.
Right? They've done a study.
I suppose they'll brand Liverpool, that will they?
Well, no, they haven't actually. Liverpool's not in there.
Or Newcastle,
they've got
or
Glasgow, Newcastle, Manchester, Birmingham, Norwich, London, Bristol, and Cardiff. Which one of them do you think is the worst?
Cardiff.
It's actually Bristol.
Bristol? Oh.
Where apparently the average drink a week per person is 9.
9 what?
9 drinks.
Yeah, is that a half pint or a pint?
Well, I presume it's units.
Is that 9 units?
I presume it'd be units,
that's not
wouldn't
much.
it?
That's not much.
Well, I don't think it is much, is it?
4.5 pints.
Yeah.
Well,
because I've had an update from Dave the Milk.
Most people in our profession used to take that before lunch.
Yeah, well, Dave the Milk has pointed out where you guys were this afternoon. I'm not going to reveal it, but yeah, I know exactly where you were.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm just saying it's a very nice bar.
Oh,
quite a nice restaurant, actually, as well.
It was a restaurant. It wasn't a bar at all.
So did you eat there as well?
Yes, we ate there. Yeah, we went for lunch.
What did you have for lunch? Fish and chips?
No, I didn't actually. No, I had some, like... what was it? It was a sort of... It was... Are
you sure you had anything to eat?
No.
You can't remember what you had to eat?
What I'm saying is, it was like a ploughman's lunch type thing.
A ploughman's lunch?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
They don't do a ploughman's lunch in there.
No,
I've been there. I've been there for lunch.
You know what I'm talking about. You know, it's
I usually have pasta when I go there.
Yeah, it was a plate of something, you know.
A plate of something?
Yeah, it was all right, yeah.
Are you sure you had something to eat?
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain, yeah.
Yeah, it says here, locals downing 9 pints a week in Bristol makes it the nation's highest average alcohol consumption city.
Oh, well, that's not a unit then, that's a pint.
Yeah.
So what did you say, 9 pints...
9 pints a week.
A week?
Yeah.
Well, when I worked on the Birmingham Evening Mail, I worked in the local office in Redditch, right?
You worked in the local, I think you were about to say.
No, I was the local. But a colleague of mine there, whose name was Mitch, used to drink 9 pints every lunchtime in the Crown.
9 pints?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, at least. He was
mad.
He was a big chap. And,
but that's bonkers, isn't it?
We used to get... You see, when you got an evening paper in those days, which had very, very efficient publishing times, you know what I mean? Right. We had to get everything out the way by sort of 1 o'clock for the paper to appear in Redditch just 2 hours later with local news in it.
Isn't it funny, by the way, because I used to say this, when they lost the hot metal and they went over to what was called new technology and Apple Macs and all that, it became so much more slow.
Oh, all the deadlines were pushed back by 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thought, well, this is incredible. All you've got to do is press a button and you've got a newspaper out of a computer.
Not true.
Not true at all.
No.
And so we would file our last copy by 1 o'clock, right? And that was it. Whoosh, deadline gone. And then all push off to the Crown. We'd stay there till 3. Mitch would have about 9 pints. Well, that was his daily intake. It was about 8 pints or something like that.
Well, it says here, official guidelines say that men should have no more than 3 to 4 units a day.
Yes.
And that's 1 large glass of wine.
Yeah, well... And
1 large glass of wine is 4 units.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can't believe that. I think that's 2 units, 1 large glass of wine.
No, not if you get one of those large ones in one of those wine bars now.
Yeah. Well, Mitch, anyway, would have 8 pints at lunchtime, so that was 16 units at least, right, a day. And then we'd come back at 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And then we'd file a few stories for the early pages of tomorrow afternoon's paper.
Yeah.
Those pages, you know, what we call the overnight pages. And then we'd go back to the pub at 5 o'clock when Roy, the landlord, would open up specially for us because nobody else was allowed in till 5:30.
Right.
And get bladderated then till about 8:30 and then go home.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, it wasn't extraordinary because it's the same sort of... That was the newspaper world the world over.
Well, yeah, but
those days.
I mean, when I used to go out at lunchtime, I would never have had 9 pints. I mean, you sometimes have a couple of bottles of wine, but 9 pints.
No, Mitch was an extraordinary guy. He was a very big chap, and he used to play centre-half for the Army football team when he did his national service in 1958. Yeah, remarkable. But he never looked like he'd had 8 or 9 pints. He never looked like he'd had a drink.
He was one of those... when you saw him, he just always was the same. Always drunk.
Well, it was something like that.
You've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah.
The time.
Don't worry about the time.
Heaven's sake, I am worried about the time. Porky Vision's coming up very shortly, but we'll be talking about a lot more before that. Next on Talk.
Food, glorious food. Don't care what it looks like. Worms under the crude. Don't care what it looks like.
Just thinking of growing fat.
Our senses are reeling. One moment of knowing that. Full of feeling. Food, glorious food. What would we give for?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Porky Vision's coming up very shortly. And also, of course, there will be a podcast coming out around about 6 hours from now. You can listen to the show again if you're listening to it live. Or you can tell your friends if they can't stay up all night. Then all they got to do is go to iTunes and follow us at the two Mikes and they can get their hands on it. Now, I was going to tell you that I took my daughter out tonight because I'm not going to see her for a couple of weeks.
Oh, right.
She's not coming on holiday with me.
Lovely Emma.
Normally she does come on holiday with me, but it was a bit too expensive this one. Okay. Well, we went to this very nice Mexican place just around the corner.
Oh, yes.
So I thought I'd get into the mood.
Very nice.
A place place called Oaxaca.
Oaxaca.
I had some taquitos. I had some tostados.
Oh, yeah? How was all that?
It was really good, actually.
Excellent. No, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Now, I'll tell you what, there was some really rum-looking people staggering around Waterloo at about sort of 10 o'clock last night.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, just very dodgy characters, you know. It's become a real kind of hotbed of nastiness, I would say.
Well, what part of Waterloo are you talking
Well, just outside the station.
Really? What, the back of the station, you mean?
Well, no, just right in front of the station.
Right in
you
front
know,
of the
obviously, because there's a 24-hour supermarket there, which seems to attract an awful lot of ne'er-do-wells.
Sorry, are you talking about where the big steps are at the front of the station?
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about where the tube comes up.
Oh, where the tube comes up. Yeah.
McDonald's there.
Yeah. Sorry, well, that's the back of the station, isn't it?
Well, no, it's the front.
Is. No, it's not. It's not. The front of the station is where those huge steps are on the corner.
Well, I'm not sure.
Which come out down to that little passageway where there's a pub, a hole-in-the-wall pub.
To me, that's the entrance to the railway station.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I wouldn't call it the front or the back.
All right, well, whatever. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And the other development of that part of town is that on the right, they've knocked everything down.
Yeah.
They've knocked it all. There used to be a lovely bookshop there. I used to wander around a bookshop.
That was quite recent. They've knocked that whole building down.
It's all gone, and they're building something new. So it's a developing part of town. Now, the reason we're playing...
Well, the Mexican place I went to, only probably as recently as about 3 years ago, was a sort of, a late-night bar, which wasn't particularly salubrious.
Which one?
Right opposite the Old Vic.
Right opposite the Old Vic.
You know, if you're walking
called
towards...
Silk or something?
It's opposite the fire station. You know where the fire station is?
Yeah, I know that, and that's just reopened. That's been refurbished, and it's not a fire station, of course. It's a bar and restaurant, called the fire station. Yeah. But opposite there, the strangest restaurant I've ever been into existed, where you went in and you climbed up a ladder to your table, which was fixed to the wall.
It's still there, I think. Isn't it?
The table was fixed to the wall.
Yeah, it wasn't very good if you were going to have quite a lot to drink.
No, it wasn't.
I'm amazed people would fall out.
Exactly, you'd break your neck.
Yeah.
The tables were literally
it was
nailed.
Like sort of bunk bed eating.
It was, yeah. It was ludicrous.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason we're talking about food is I'm delighted.
Well, the reason we're talking about food is I was telling you about my nice meal tonight.
Oh,
which
yes,
you
that's right.
You're interested in.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
No, you're not interested at all.
And what did Emma have to eat?
Well, we shared. We had a sort of a general sharing.
What was this stuff you ate again?
Mexican tacos.
Tacos?
Yeah.
What's a taco?
Well, a taco is, Mexican sort of almost. I suppose the easiest way to describe it is a Mexican sandwich. It's like,
sandwich.
You can have it with. We had it with.
What's a Mexican sandwich?
Well,
why don't you have an English sandwich instead?
Well, it was a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, I know.
You don't go there and ask for I could have asked for a Ploughman's, I suppose.
Yeah,
they didn't have any of those.
Yeah.
Well, I'll describe it to you, shall I?
Well, I'm not that interested.
I mean, you could have, for example, a cactus and corn taco. Sautéed cactus, courgette and tomato with summer herbs, shaved corn and feta.
Who in their right mind would stick a cactus in the mouth?
I had one of these.
Unless they wanted a bleeding mouth.
The cactus is actually really nice. Well, it's not sharp. It's not like pointy.
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
I had one of these. I tender marinated chicken, taquitos. And this was like a sort of a hard wrap. You're looking at me like I'm talking, complete gibberish to you.
Well, you are.
Have you never eaten Mexican food?
No, I can't stand
Mexican food. What about when you were in Mexico? What did you eat there? Ploughman's?
No, I found
chips.
No, I found a Pizza Hut. Seriously,
well,
I found a Pizza Hut.
How about this poached chicken seasoned with lime and black pepper, Lancashire cheese, and smoky chipotle salsa? It was lovely.
What? Sorry, was that in a Mexican restaurant?
Yeah.
But you just said to me you don't get English food in a Mexican restaurant. They've got Lancashire cheese.
Well, they've got Lancashire cheese that goes with the food. Yeah.
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 Sounds like a weirdo place, that to me.
It's not a weirdo place.
Nutters. But anyway, look, the reason we're talking about food...
we had a quesadilla, which is a sort of a flatbread almost. It's stuffed with, it was stuffed with pinto beans and cheese. Very nice.
Bread stuffed with beans. That sounds brilliant.
It's not bread stuffed with beans.
That's what you just said.
It's like a flatbread.
Blimey.
Well, you must have had a chapati in an Indian restaurant. Or a naan, which is sometimes stuffed.
I like naan.
Do you like stuffed naan?
No?
No. But you've seen it, though?
Yeah, I've seen naan, yeah. Now, listen, what I was going to say is, fortunately, in Europe, people are turning away from sushi.
Are they?
It's being led in Paris. A decade after the French fell in love with sushi, the love affair has faded, forcing the closure of Japanese-style restaurants and outlets that had invaded the land of the bon cuisine. After over-expanding to feed an apparently...
What kind of cuisine?
Sushi.
No, you said something cuisine, like Le Bon Cuisine, did you say?
Bon cuisine.
Bon cuisine?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, it's a French word, isn't it, you idiot?
Well, but
good food.
No, but bon cuisine is never a phrase that I've heard.
Yeah,
in relation to food.
I have.
Haute cuisine, I've heard.
I've been to France a lot. By the way, somebody told me...
Nobody ever calls it bon cuisine.
Somebody told me today they went to Madrid, right, and they said it's the most ghastly city, and I agree, in Europe, I think Madrid is dreadful.
Well, you know, I haven't been to Madrid for many years. When I went to Mallorca a couple of years ago, we flew through Madrid Airport, which was actually almost as bad as going to Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, we nearly missed our connecting flight because the distance was so big. But I haven't actually been physically to Madrid since I was a kid.
I think Paris is a great city, Amsterdam, Barcelona, but Madrid is a...
You don't like it?
Madrid's a dump.
Really?
Anyway.
I'm surprised you'd say
Anyway,
that.
it says here...
What about the Prada?
What?
What about the Prada?
The Prada? What about the Prada?
Isn't that the big museum there?
I don't know. I
never went to the museum in Madrid?
No, I didn't. No.
Why not?
Because I went to Madrid to watch a football match, and I didn't fancy going to a museum at the same time.
Right.
So, anyway, it says, after overexpanding to feed an apparently insatiable appetite, the purveyors of fish, rice, vinegar and seaweed have their backs to the wall as city dwellers have turned to less expensive fare, usually American takeaway food. So American takeaway is on the way back.
Is it?
I'm delighted to say. The old McDonald's and you know, all the pizza and all that.
You can only eat so much of that, though.
Well, you can only eat so much sushi because people are now sick of it. Now, I hope that will now spread across the Atlantic. You know, not across the Atlantic, across the English Channel.
Hang on, I don't know where this survey's done.
It's done in Le Monde, the French newspaper.
Right, so what do they know about what's happening in eating habits of the English?
This is in France.
Oh, it's in France?
This is in France, in Paris.
Oh, OK.
And well, if you were listening, you'd have heard what I said. I hope this will now spread across the English Channel
I don't think it will.
to London, and we'll get rid of all our sushi restaurants.
No, because one of the things why do you want to get rid of things?
Because sushi's ghastly. It's raw fish. It's
forcing
horrible.
it down your throat, are they?
No, it means the Japanese go around shooting whales and all this kind of stuff, and we don't need it.
They don't shoot them, do they?
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, yesterday you were advocating shooting grouse and pheasants.
No, I wasn't. I was saying
you were.
I was saying that you have to control the numbers. That's all. That's all I said.
Well, they might say you have to control numbers of whales.
You've seen this, by the way, this footage on our
This is
internal...
Paolo One Shot, isn't it? Yeah, we had him on the show a few weeks ago. Paolo One Shot, but he seems to be having a bit of difficulty with the local security.
Just to tell our listeners what we were looking at there on one of our internal monitors here, that was it. What was happened there? He went to a football game, and what happened?
Well, no, he's the manager of Costa Rica now,
That's right, yeah, he is, yeah.
And this was a home game, I think, that they were having.
Yes.
And there was some kind of argument that started between him and some security guy.
That's right, yeah.
And suddenly he started punching him. I don't know what it was all about, really.
It's terrible. Anyway, to get back to the sushi,
Imagine
right?
if Rory Hodgson did that. He might,
he
might actually become more popular.
He would, yeah, I'm sure he would, yeah. Anyway, Le Monde, the famous French newspaper, right? It says a few years ago you opened a restaurant. If it was Japanese, it was certain to work. But now people are only talking about bagels, burgers, and food trucks. Okay?
Yeah. I don't believe that.
And that's it.
I don't believe it.
And Europe Radio, which picked up this survey, said sushi is starting to have the aftertaste of bankruptcy. It has been a victim of its own success. Sushi has so saturated French life that it's hard to walk down a high street without passing restaurants, takeaways and supermarket displays of sushi.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I was in Paris not that long ago and I never saw one sushi restaurant.
It says Planet Sushi, that's the name of a chain of shops over there, has been under court control for the past year.
Sushi restaurants?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Has been under...
Have you ever had sushi?
No.
So how do you know you don't like it?
Because it's raw fish. And I wouldn't eat raw fish. I've heard so many bad things about it. I mean, it's just inedible. It says Planet Sushi has been under court control for the past year after failing to meet payments. And Matsuri, another big chain, sought protection from its creditors last month. Eat Sushi, another chain, has retrenched heavily as overall sales have shrunk by 7% in 1 year.
Right.
So this is all good news.
What about smoked fish?
Yeah, quite like... is it smoked haddock?
Smoked haddock,
Is it? Yeah, quite like that.
That's kind of raw.
No.
It's smoked. It's not actually cooked.
No, the stuff I eat is well smoked, if you see what I mean. No. What are you laughing at?
Smoked haddock?
Yeah, well smoked.
How about well smoked salmon? Well,
yeah, I do
Louis
like
Van Gaal's favourite.
I like a bit of smoked salmon. Incidentally, British families waste twice as much food as those in some other European countries, a study has found. How about this? The equivalent of a tin of beans for every person in Britain is thrown away every day.
Yeah, that's
How
not
about
very
that?
much.
That's amazing.
That's hardly anything.
That's amazing.
What, a small tin of beans?
Talking about France, by the way, they've just...
A small tin of beans or a large tin of beans?
That'd be a large tin of beans. Talking about
the time, by the way.
Yeah, just very quickly, talking about the French, by the way, they've introduced a law in France. Now, this is no joke, Mike, where you can go to jail if you insult poor people.
You would not last long then, would you? So next time you go to anywhere near the poorest suburbs of Paris, don't call the people in the council estate scumbags, otherwise you'll find yourself locked up.
This guy, I'm not joking, in the French Parliament, he's introduced this law. Listen to this. Under the Private Members Bill promoted by Yannick Vaugrenard, who's an MP over there, he's a socialist senator, offenders guilty of discrimination against those suffering from the vulnerability resulting from an apparent or known economic situation in negative face a maximum sentence of 3 years in prison.
Blimey.
That's incredible.
That seems a bit harsh.
Incredible.
Absolutely amazing. Well, who knows whether that one will pass over the channel as well.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, coming up next here on Talk Sport, it's time for Porky Vision.
The Barclays Premier League on Talk Sport.
They are completely in control of this game.
Tomorrow night from 7. Join Mark Saggers and the team for exclusive national radio commentary of Aston Villa versus Manchester United.
It was an exquisite finish by Juan Mata.
With a post-match phone-in on the sports bar from 10.
What about that for some football?
Official partner of the Barclays Premier League. Talk Sport.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics, and of course that music can only mean one thing. It signals the weekly episode of the best TV review, as we say, this side of that big meteor shower that's going on. The Perseid meteor shower, it actually might be better than watching most of the things that are on TV. It says, though, that in the south of the country at the moment, the clouds are a bit too present to watch any of it. But if you're in the north of England, you might be able to see a meteor shower, so do let us know what you can see.
Excellent.
So what have you been watching this week?
Well, listen, first of all, The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought you talked about The Spy Who Loved Me last week, didn't you?
Yeah, but guess what? It's on again this week.
Well, you can't do the same film 2 weeks in a row.
No, it was on last night.
Yeah, no, I know that.
I know, but I love the start of it, so I watched it again.
Well, yeah, but you told us all about that last week.
Nobody does.
I'm sure you did it last week.
I did, actually, but I thought that as it was... But it was on television this week, so I am reviewing what's on television this week.
Well, technically speaking, that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, look,
it was on last week.
I'll move on because I reviewed it last week and it's brilliant.
Was it any better this week or?
I love it. I just love the start of it. Yeah. It's brilliant.
How about the end of it? Why don't you do the end of it this week?
The blonde
you did the start of it last week.
Yeah,
do the end of it this week.
The blonde girl says, "He has just gone. He has just gone," which I always thought was very inane. And then next you see, he's been shot at by the Russian spies.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, he kills Barbara Bach's boyfriend, you know.
Yeah.
But that's by the by.
Okay.
Now then, what I want to tell you about is this amazing programme I saw, and it's called Plant Odysseys.
Right.
And the presenter is a girl called Carol Klein. And it's the most amazing story about what goes on in your garden.
Really?
Amazing.
You haven't got a garden.
What?
You haven't got a garden.
What about my roof garden?
Well, yeah, but it's not a garden, is it?
Of course it is. People have seen pictures of it. I put them out. Now,
it's about 10 square feet
no,
of,
it's not.
concrete and a couple of pots.
I only showed you one bit of it. I didn't want to display too much of my private life to our millions of listeners.
Yeah.
Now then, amazing things about this is that, do you know, if there weren't any ladybirds, there would be something like 10 billion greenfly in every garden every summer.
Yeah.
10 billion.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Because they...
It's all part of the ecosystem, isn't it?
Yeah, they multiply into swarms all the time. Now, what I find a bit odd about that is that ladybirds aren't very big.
No.
But they eat the greenfly.
Well, greenfly are even smaller than ladybirds.
They're not, though, are they?
Well, when was the last time you saw a greenfly bigger than a ladybird?
Well, quite often.
Really?
Well, unless it was a dragonfly.
A nuclear plant near you.
What?
Have you got a nuclear plant near you?
No, but you... Well, I don't know what you're laughing at.
Well, greenfly are tiny.
No, the greenfly I've got are big.
Well, then sure they're greenfly.
Yeah.
They're not locusts.
No, and what I do is, because my mum told me to do this, I make sure that I keep my washing up water, put it into my watering cans, and then pour it on the leaves to kill the greenfly.
Why?
Well, she says that fairy liquid kills greenfly.
Well, it kills everything else too.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't kill the plants.
Doesn't kill the
but
ladybirds.
Anyway, well, I never see the ladybirds. I see ladybirds.
Did you not have an infestation of ladybirds?
Yeah,
I
did, and so I got rid of them. I sprayed them all with acid. well, it wasn't... No, I mean,
you must have had a lot of greenfly that year.
No, it wasn't quite acid. It was like ammonia in a bottle. You know, I put ammonia in a bottle.
Yeah, but it still kills them though.
Well, it does kill. I wanted to kill them because they were all lined up in my window frame.
Have you ever seen those black and white ladybirds? which are a sort of new mutation.
No.
They're quite interesting.
But the thing is...
Like black with white spots, like polka dots.
I've never seen a ladybird fly.
Really?
Have you?
Yeah.
No, I don't see ladybirds fly. All they do,
fly.
All they do is creep around on my windowsill.
No, they
so
fly
I don't know.
Well, that's because you just sprayed them with ammonia.
Yeah, well, that's right. But I don't...
They're on their way to death.
Yeah, I don't know how they
don't feel like flying.
I don't know how they get out into the garden to eat all these green fly that's supposed to be eaten, you know?
Well, you don't see a lot of the things that go on around us, do you?
No, I suppose
you
don't.
Have to remember
that.
But
anyway, look, that wasn't the most fascinating fact about this show. Do you know what the most fascinating fact about this show is?
I don't know.
Do you know
it's on Channel 5?
Eh?
Did you say it was on Channel 5?
No, it was on...
doesn't sound like the sort of show Channel 5 would do.
No, it was on BBC Two.
Oh, okay.
It was on BBC Two.
Right.
And the most fascinating fact is that, you know when you see a bumblebee in your garden?
Yeah.
It buzzes around a bit, right? And then it buzzes around a bit more, you know, buzz,
yeah.
Buzz, and then it flies away.
Right, and then it lands on your floor and you save its life.
Well, I did that, obviously, yeah. But do you know the most amazing thing about it? Bees,
I can't imagine.
Bees have human face recognition. They can recognise humans and come back and say hello to you again.
Rubbish.
They do.
That's
they do.
Rubbish.
No, they do. No, I'm telling you.
How many eyes have they got?
2, but they've got peripheral vision in both eyes, so they can see right around themselves.
Right.
So when you see...
Well, we've got peripheral vision, haven't we?
Yeah, but when
we've got eyes like a bee.
No, when you see a bee attending to a plant, i.e. pollinating it or something like that, you might think that bee is only dealing with that plant, but the bee's looking at you at the same time. And bees have... bees... Can you take this seriously or not?
I can't.
Bees have photographic eyes, and they implant your face on their brain. They can tell who you are when they come back.
Right.
They can recognise you, literally.
So if they've stung you before, would they sting you again?
Well, they don't sting often, bees. They don't sting. When they sting you, they're dead anyway, so they can't do it again.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that you think your dog recognises your face, not in the same way as a bee does.
Really?
A bee has an absolute instant recognition of a human being's face the minute it sees it, if it's seen that bee before, OK? Right. And do you know that is why beekeepers wear veils?
I thought it was to stop them from being stung.
No, everybody thinks that. The reason beekeepers wear veils is because they want to disguise themselves from the bee.
Well, it helps that they can't get stung as well, though.
Yeah, well, maybe, but they don't want the bee to recognise them in case the bee becomes too attached to them.
Why don't they just wear a mask?
Well, because if you... No. If you wear them... Well, no.
You can wear one of those anonymous masks, like Guy Fawkes.
No, because...
And they'd think everybody looked the same.
No, you then need a collection of masks, wouldn't you? Because if
why?
Well, because if you wore the same blinking mask, the bee would think that's your face.
Yeah.
So the bee would recognise you next time it came into your garden, wouldn't it?
Well, they're all wearing the same cover over their face.
No, you're being stupid.
No,
I'm trying to be practical
here. If
here.
you're trying to hide your identity from a bee,
what?
Surely the best thing to do is wear a mask.
No, it's not, because the bee would recognise the mask then. Don't you get it?
But then you give the mask to somebody else and it would confuse you.
No, honestly, it's idiotic. Anyway, look, I've told you about that programme.
It's a great show, yeah. Is it a series?
Well, it's called Plant Odyssey, so I'm just trying to find out.
You'd think it would be more than one, wouldn't you? I've seen a thing here that says bees have got actually hundreds of single eyes.
Well, there you go. I just told you that.
But no, you didn't.
I did.
You said they had peripheral vision.
Yeah, but they've got 2 big eyes, but within those 2 big eyes are hundreds of little eyes.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Each with its own lens and each looking in a different direction.
That's right. That's right.
This does not mean, however, that the bee sees lots of little pictures.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
No, they don't. They see one big picture.
No. Well, it's a bit like, you know, when the Iranian embassy siege took place. What are you laughing at?
What's that got to do with bees' eyes?
Because I'm just about to tell you.
You're not going to tell me it was bees that did it?
No, I'm telling you that the way that the SAS identified...
There you go.
Oh, it's a picture of a bee showing me. Yeah, that's quite good, yeah. The way the SAS identified the terrorists when they finally stormed the building was because in the previous 36 hours they had drilled minuscule holes through the wall from the building next door and inserted tiny pinhead-type cameras.
Yeah.
And they based that on a bee's eye. They had like 50 or 60 of those cameras in the wall, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that gave them one complete picture, so that when they burst through and threw the gas canisters and people started running away, they had to make their minds up within 1/10 of a second whether to pull the trigger on their gun and shoot the person who was a terrorist or not shoot the person because they were a captive.
Right.
You see what I mean? What are you laughing at?
I've got a great picture here from Woodenhead. So I just found this group of beekeepers. No way the bees will see them now.
Yeah.
They're all wearing those funny glasses with fake noses and moustaches.
I don't know, honestly. I try to, come across scientific research and study, and what do I get from you? Nothing. Now then, there's another
program. What else
have
you been watching?
A programme on Channel 4 called The World's Most Luxurious Shoes.
The World's Most Luxurious Shoes?
Yeah.
Right. Is this something to do with Imelda Marcos?
No, it's about women who have more money than sense, who spend £6,000 on a pair of shoes.
6,000? That is a lot of money.
Now, that's a pair of Louboutins.
Yeah, Louboutins.
Louboutin, right?
They're not normally that much. They're about normally £400 or £500. These must be particularly special Louboutins.
Well, they are. Now,
what's special about them?
Well, they're £6,000 a pair.
Oh, I know, but why?
They're handmade.
Well, they're all handmade.
No.
They're normally £400 or £500.
No, they're handmade to your own design, okay? And they'll put stilettos on them up to 6 inches high.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, the point is that this often results in all sorts of physical injury, ranging from twisted ankles to literally dislocated hips and... what's that bone across the back of your back called that your legs are connected to?
Eh? Your spine?
No. That goes up the back of your back. No, this is... what's it called? Pelvis. Your pelvis.
Your pelvis.
It can.
That your legs are connected to.
Yeah, wearing these shoes.
It doesn't just go up your back, does it?
No, it goes across your back, you fool.
Well, it goes across your entire body.
Well, yeah, but mostly at the back.
In front. You've got a pelvis. Maybe that's what's wrong with you. You've not got any pelvic bones in the front of your body.
Hang on. You know the old song, you need bone connected to your thigh bone, your thigh bone connected to your pelvic bone, you know what I mean?
No, I don't think pelvic bone's in it, actually.
I think it is. But anyway, I don't know what you're laughing at. The point is, Louboutin was the son of a French carpenter, I learnt from this film, okay? Yeah. And he got fed up making furniture, so he started making shoes. And that's but he
devastating stuff, isn't it?
No. But
no wonder you were so fascinated by it.
No. What I'm saying is, it is fascinating to know that the man who makes the world's most expensive shoes, in fact, got his skills through carpentry. He used to make tables.
Yeah.
How about that?
His dad did, not the son.
Yeah, his dad. That's right. Yeah, his dad.
It's not him, though, is it?
Well, he learnt all his skills off his dad. Yeah. See what I mean? Oh, it's fascinating.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that one show only, or was there a second part to that?
No, that was just one show. You wouldn't want much more than one show about people's shoes, would you?
I don't think so.
A flip-flop around the ear, right? Hang on.
What?
I've made a note here about flip-flops. Apparently, flip-flops developed from earrings, believe it or not. I don't know how, but they... Why? What's your problem?
Oh, dear.
What is your problem?
Well, luckily, we're out of time. It's maybe the most surreal one yet.
I don't think you appreciate this TV
review.
I do.
I'm the one that always says it's the greatest TV review ever. Yeah. I'm the only one that says that, by the way. Yeah. Nobody else agrees. That was Porky Vision. And I don't know what we're going to do next.
A chevonement. A chevonement. Cheven. You want to check him out?
I will.
Chevonement. A chevonement. Chevonement.
Lots and lots of tweets have come in on the bee front, by the way.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Lee says, what next? BID parades. Porky's best yet.
Well, no, I'm only telling you the scientific fact about the life of a bee, which we should all be fascinated by because it's part of the natural world around us, that's all.
And Rob says, what about the SAS bees? Is their motto, bee who dares wins?
I like that.
It's not bad, is it?
Well done, yeah.
And here's one from Becky, who says, just tuned into Porky Vision and now becoming an expert on apiculture. Tell Porky to behave and review some TV.
I like it. Thank you very much indeed. How does sushi encourage the Japanese to shoot whales, says Dazza.
Yeah.
Sushi is raw fish, whales are mammals. Yeah, but the Japanese have this fascination about shooting things in the sea, don't they?
Well, they don't shoot them. You mean with harpoons?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know if they shoot them with harpoons. I don't know how they kill them, actually.
No, they do.
Ian, this is a good one. He says, one of the bees got really clever and became a premiership manager. It was called ABV.
ABV, I like that.
It's good, isn't it?
Kenny here is making a play for the fact that sushi is healthy food. He says... MP so ill-informed, that's me, obviously, not talking about an MP, we're talking about Mike Parry, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
So ill-informed, he's against healthy sushi and supports Foods like KFC, that's chicken, isn't it, and Pizza Hut, obesity campaign needs to be rethought. OK, thank you very much, Kenny. Yeah.
Pizza-Hut.
OK, and Abandoned here says, how come Porky's predictions on criminal psychoanalytic rehabilitation theories are coming true? Right, what does he mean by that? He sent me a picture as well. Don't know. No, I can't.
Now, here's one from
picture of Oscar Pistorius.
Brian in Islington. He says, Dear Mr. Graham, I've just looked out of my balcony in central London to try and see the Poseid meteor shower. All I could see was a series of drones being sent from the local council estates and sushi restaurants towards Talksport Towers in Waterloo.
Yeah, well, I can believe that. Now then, the wannabe rock star guy, he sent in this picture, hasn't he?
Woodenhead.
Yeah. Oh, that's Woodenhead,
That's Woodenhead,
Have you talked about that already?
We met him in Portsmouth. Well, he's sent a picture of the beekeepers.
That's
who
right,
are wearing those silly disguises.
Absolutely.
Which don't seem to work very well. And David says, I was wondering what to have for breakfast. Well-smoked haddock and a well-poached egg, I think. Thanks, Porky.
Good idea. And people keep sending me pictures of my face imposed on other people, superimposed, I should say. And Samantha sent me one, living the oil baron life, Porky, and picture me with the body of J.R. Ewing. Well, you know, he's a big hero of mine,
He is a big hero
I wouldn't worry
of
about that one. Yeah.
Now, we haven't got an awful lot of time left, but we've got still plenty of things to talk about. I wanted to just mention a couple of stories from the morning papers. There's a very bizarre story on the front page of The Independent, and I don't want to spend an awful lot of time on it, but it seems that the Labour Party have gone a bit mad because so many people have now decided to register to vote to get this guy Corbyn elected.
Yes.
So they've now put a block, have they not, on all the people who can now actually vote in the Labour Party election.
Is that right?
Including that guy, that comedian, Mark Steele.
Oh, yes.
Who writes, occasionally pops in here on Hawksby and Jacobs every now and again whenever he's got a new show. Very left-wing guy, but I mean, very forthright and pro-Labour.
Nothing wrong with that, everybody's to their own views.
Well, exactly right. But apparently he's been blocked from joining the party.
Really?
Which is even more odd, because he's also an independent columnist. Well, it's all to do with the fact that basically they've got hundreds of thousands of new members who have all paid money to vote Corbyn in.
I see.
And now the whole party
are they blocking membership now?
is imploding. Yeah, have you got a copy of The Independent there?
I've got a copy of The Independent, yes.
Well, I think it's on the front page of that.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's all there. The other one, I think, which is rather nice, is that the Mirror says that Cilla Black is now going to be buried in Liverpool with her mum and dad, which is rather nice because...
Have they got like a family plot then?
Yeah, it says Cilla Black will be laid to rest alongside her parents in Liverpool after a funeral expected to be attended by thousands, which is very, very nice, really, because like all people who have to work in London to pursue their careers, they're often accused of abandoning their roots. You know?
You would be one of them, wouldn't you?
Not really.
Yeah, people accuse you of abandoning the North.
Well, why do they? Because
you don't live there.
I know I don't live there, but I try to visit regularly, if only to see Everton Football Club and whatever. But what I'm saying is, people like Sting were always accused of abandoning Tyneside. People like John Lennon, and remember Ringo Starr famously was asked, "What do you miss about Liverpool, Ringo?" And he said nothing.
Yeah.
And he was just being honest. He was just saying, "Well, actually, I have a life in California, or whatever." But she was sometimes accused of... I read a
couple of people on Twitter, actually, saying from Liverpool that she had abandoned the city, that she had gone to the right-wing Tories, and she was, she was not a Liverpudlian anymore.
Not a working-class girl and all that.
She'd actually put on the accent and pretended that she was more working-class than she originally had been
rubbish.
And all that.
It's rubbish. She came from a very working-class
Priscilla
background.
White, her name was, wasn't it?
Priscilla White, and she was born in she was brought up in a council flat above a butcher shop on Scotland Road. And Scotland Road is a sort of the equivalent of, like, I don't know, what Bermondsey used to be about 40 years ago, you know what I mean? Yeah. Bermondsey being a suburb of South London, by the way, for the...
uninitiated.
Those who don't live here, And I think it's rather nice, really, that that's going to happen, because, I read her letter the other day, and it was honestly, it was horrible in its content, saying... Cilla Black, why people in Liverpool should mourn her when she lived in Surrey and Spain.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she had a huge house in, actually Buckinghamshire it was, not Surrey, in Denham in Bucks.
Yeah, but that's kind of inverted snobbery as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
When people have a go at you because
she had a villa in Spain,
because you become successful.
Totally agree.
And you've got a villa in Spain. It's a bit like when they talk about the Beckhams, and they went to live in America.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with that? They can do whatever they want.
No, I totally agree with you. And anyway, the thing is, she's answered them all back, hasn't she, by a final resting place will be alongside her mum.
I've got something for you here which is going to make your blood boil.
Right, go on.
And I don't particularly want to do that as we're so near the end of the show. But a little story in the Daily Telegraph, right?
Yeah.
And it says that you might have to wait longer for your kettle to boil.
Yeah.
And you also might find, basically, that your lights might not be so bright. Because guess what? There are plans to reduce the voltage of Britain's electricity supplies.
Yes.
In order to conserve power.
Yeah, I've never understood this.
So basically, when you put the kettle on, instead of it boiling, in 30 seconds or whatever fast kettles now do, you'll have to wait maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes.
You see, I've never understood this. If you've got to wait 2 minutes, it means you're using electricity for 2 minutes, not for 30 seconds.
Well, yeah, but if the voltage is lower, then there's less. I mean, if you imagine a pipe, right, and the pipe is full of water, right. Now, if you run a trickle through that pipe, you're not using as much water, are you?
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean?
What do you mean?
All right, well, if, say, you've got a pipe that is in circumference, say, I don't know, 5 inches.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, if that is full of water, which is constantly being pumped through, right, and then you reduce that amount of water to a trickle,
right,
then obviously there's less water in volume coming through the pipe.
Yeah, but if the pipe
So you're using less energy.
OK, but if the pipe is filling up a bucket, and the bucket is a litre bucket, it'll take just longer to fill the bucket up with a litre of water than it would if there was water gushing through the pipe.
That's true.
At the end of the day, you still end up with a litre of water.
But you don't need, in order to move that amount of water, you don't need as much energy, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's wholly inefficient because it means that the process is taking much longer than it should do. Therefore, all the agents necessary for the operation of moving the water from one location to another, right, takes longer. Therefore, it involves more people. You see,
not necessarily.
It's like all these idiots who say, "Oh, it's fantastic now that we can dispose of so much rubbish in so many different boxes and all this."
Yeah.
What they don't tell you is that in order to have 8 different collecting boxes for rubbish, you need 8 times as many lorries to collect it. So you're burning 8 times as much diesel fuel and petrol for those lorries to run around the country collecting the stuff and then taking it to landfill
Well, that's
sites
a different argument.
where it's all poured into the same hole.
Well, that's a different
argument.
nonsense.
It's
but hang on.
It's all rubbish.
Well, let me try and explain this to you the way that they've said. The National Grid uses more wind farms now, and it will use more wind farms, right, as time goes on.
Wind farms are so inefficient, they should all be knocked down.
Experts say measures to even out demand will be introduced, and that's what they're really talking about, because the thing that costs money in terms of power is when so many people switch on their kettle at the same time, right? And then that sometimes leads to a shortage of electricity in other parts of the country.
No, what leads to shortage of electricity, Mike, is closing down coal-burning fire stations, which we've done in this country.
Well, it closed down the coal mines.
Well, we can import coal very cheaply, that's why.
Well,
that's
not
why.
really.
Yes, we can, But anyway, we've closed them all down because the idiots who make these decisions say, well, there's too much carbon being burnt into the air. It's not carbon that comes out of coal-fired power stations. It's steam.
Get this, right?
It's steam in the cooling towers.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But get this, right? They've already run some tests in certain areas, which they haven't told us about.
Right.
And apparently the residents didn't notice any difference when the lights were slightly dimmer and when the kettles took slightly longer to boil.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well,
How about that for the power of suggestion?
Well, what I was going to say is I've had to change onto some of these, like low-energy bulbs, right?
Yeah.
And they're supposed to
Well,
last...
everybody's had to do that.
Yeah, they're supposed to last like 15 years. That's the whole idea of using them, right?
Yeah.
You're
not going to last 15 years. What do you bother buying those for?
Well, because there's no other bulbs you can buy these days. I've got a big store of old-fashioned bulbs, and I use them sparingly. I won't give one to anybody.
Yeah.
My family asks me for them sometimes, and I
How many have you got?
About 30.
30 bulbs?
Yeah.
Well, like the old screw-in ones?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And I refuse.
You stockpile them?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I'm not giving them to anybody. They're my bulbs, and they're brighter than those dim-wit bulbs that got all the prongs on them, which are hideous. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You don't keep them in a locked room, do you?
Well, I haven't got a locked room, but I keep them in a cupboard above my cooker.
Right.
Yeah, just in case somebody breaks in.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me. That, of course, was the two mics. Mr. Parry will be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow it's Porky Quiz Night, and we've got, of course, a quiz for Porky on Westerns. I should mention that Portsmouth did well last night, another one of your teams.
2-1.
2-1. Beat
in the
Derby,
League Cup.
right?
Excellent. They beat Derby, didn't they?
I just said that.
Yeah, I thought you said it was a big derby. I said, no, they beat Derby.
No, they beat Derby.
And, of course,
I've seen the time.
Tomorrow night is also another flagship, I should say. Flagship show.
Yeah.
It's the last one that old MG will be taking part in before he goes off on holiday and abandons you all for 2 weeks. I'm not going on holiday. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be around.
Oh, very good. I look forward to it. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics.
Look at the light! Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne, podcast from the two mics. You're either a mad psychopath or you're not. That's all
the
what
chances
we want
of
to
being
know.
a psychopath are average. It's 21 to 30.
Oh, really? Well, that's very inconclusive in my mind. I mean, we gave the audience the big build-up, to find out whether we're psychopaths or not, and the conclusion is chances are average.
Well, it means that we're bored, and it means that we're not psychopaths.
Well, it also means we could be. So I found that very inconclusive, actually. What a waste of time that survey was.
I don't think it was
complete
a waste of time. You seem upset that you're not a psychopath. This guy, Glenn, used to be the chairman of United Biscuits.
Yes, he did, yeah.
So what does he know about football?
Well, he knows a lot about custard creams, right?
Yeah.
And
that's not necessarily helpful.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Apparently, flip-flops developed from earrings